Before passing away, my master entrusted my junior sister into my care, commanding me to protect her well and satisfy every one of her requests without condition. As a man of honor, I initially intended to refuse, but a system notification echoed within my mind. If I satisfy my junior sister's requests unconditionally for 1 year, I will be granted the greatest cultivation base in the world. Such a temptation was truly impossible to refuse, and so I began my path as a devoted servant to her every whim. For 1 entire year I lived for the sake of my junior sister, and it was during this year that I became known throughout the sect as a lovesick fool, viewed by the elders and disciples as an absolute disgrace. But after today, I can finally rid myself of this title of a lovesick fool. Just at this moment, my junior sister Suwon sent a sound transmission, stating that tomorrow she would be bringing an esteemed guest to the sect and instructed us to prepare a grand reception. I surveyed my surroundings, and after confirming no one was present, I drew an old yellowed notebook from behind my back, narrowed my eyes, and recorded this favor I had done for her. The entry number was 250. Once this day has passed, I shall reclaim every single thing I have given away. I summoned my only disciple, and ordered him to take the news of the reception, relaying it to the elders and all the disciples within the sect, while emphasizing that everyone must gather at the mountain gate tomorrow, and anyone who dares to be absent will be severely punished. As expected, once the news spread, the entire sect was filled with seething resentment. I surmised that the elders were surely gathering to speak ill of me once again. True enough, in a secluded residence, a group of elders was burning with indignation. Here we go again, everyone. What qualification does he even have to remain our Sect Master now? Because of his behavior, whenever we step outside, who among us can still speak with pride? How can we still call ourselves elders of Qingyun's sect? Whenever our disciples go out, who would dare admit they are disciples of Qingyun's sect? Previously, he only squandered his own reputation and personal resources, and we silently endured it. But now he has begun to exhaust the resources of the sect itself. Can you all truly tolerate this any longer? The Grand Elder, though not tall in stature, yet at this moment he was filled with an overwhelming surge of fervor. Veins bulged upon his neck. In that instant he felt like a titan who dared to stand against tyranny. Several elders voiced their agreement in unison, while only a few hung their heads and sighed, but what else could be done? Currently he possesses the greatest strength within our sect. An elder spoke helplessly. If we only join forces, what more could he possibly do? Indeed, we must unite. At that precise moment, the great elder took a deep breath and dropped a bombshell. I will not hide it from you all any longer. Yesterday, I achieved a breakthrough. My cultivation base is now equal to his. Hearing this, the other elder's eyes widened, and he declared, tomorrow, in front of all the disciples, I shall strip him of his position as Sect Master. Those willing to support me, please rise. As the words left his lips, a group of elders stood up one by one. The remaining few hesitated for a moment before rising as well. Very well. Tomorrow we shall cleanse the humiliation brought upon our sect. The entire night passed with an eerie silence. At dawn on the second day, every member of the sect, from the highest ranking to the kitchen disciples, was gathered before the sect gates. 30,000 people stood in disciplined rows. The scene was magnificent, even drawing observers from other sects to witness the commotion. It went without saying that the outsiders would surely assume that I, the Sect Master, was performing some ridiculous display for my junior sister again. Once all the disciples had assembled, I descended through the air from the main peak to the front of the gates. Hovering in midair, clad in white robes and draped in the brilliance of my formidable cultivation, I appeared as if an immortal had descended to the mortal realm. However, I knew the gazes of the disciples below were filled only with loathing and contempt. I could not be bothered to pay them any mind, nor did I care to sense if my junior sister had returned. My focus was entirely fixed upon the virtual interface before my eyes as the countdown began. 19 Transfer of the realm's peak cultivation beginning. Boom! A terrifying surge of energy beyond all comprehension flooded into me instantly. As it rushed into my body in a single second, I felt as though I had been reborn, my very soul transmuted. It seemed as if I had become one with the heavens themselves. Could this power allow me to ascend directly? I asked inwardly in a hurry. System, tell me, is this realm's peak cultivation the strongest in the mortal realm, or does it hold true even in the immortal realm? The host's realm encompasses the mortal world, the immortal realm, and the divine realm. I was stunned into silence. This meant that even if I were to ascend to the divine realm, I would remain supreme. Just as I reached the peak of my excitement, 2 figures suddenly materialized from the void, 10 jang away. My junior sister had returned. One of them was naturally her. Her figure was graceful, adorned in splendid ancient robes like a celestial maiden. The corners of her mouth were slightly upturned, exuding an air of confidence and elegance. The man beside her appeared to be around 20 years old, with a sturdy physique and rippling muscles, dressed in simple traditional attire that gave him a rustic air. In a flash, they both descended before me. My gaze locked instantly onto the burly man. Following my surge in cultivation, everything was visible with startling clarity. I could see right through the opponent's cultivation level. The peak of the Tribulation Transcendent stage is not just a single step stronger than my previous early stage. In this world, this is nearly the strongest power in the mortal realm, yet this man before me is only in his early 20s, truly a genius. All the disciples and elders below also perceived the terrifying energy radiating from the burly man. Everyone was shocked, sensing a presence far more powerful than their own. Late Tribulation Transcendence, perhaps even the peak, the short great elder gulped, likely rendered speechless. When a personage of this caliber arrives, it is only natural for the entire sect to welcome them. Chen An, this is my 5th senior brother. Suanwan introduced him smugly, having long since forgotten how to address me as her senior brother. Tribulation Transcendence first layer. The burly man muttered to himself before finally speaking formally. Are you the former senior brother of Wanwan? Hearing the words of these two, my expression became quite intriguing. Has Suanwan found herself a significant pillar of support after this journey? That is excellent news. It seems my junior sister has found another master while out there, hasn't she? That is truly wonderful. From now on, you must cultivate diligently under your master. I felt as though a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. These words sounded ordinary, yet upon closer inspection they carried a hint of irony. Hearing this, Suanwan's lips curled even higher. As she had anticipated, no matter what she did, I would only support her. She had returned this time to sever ties with the sect, having pledged herself to a new master of fearsome strength. There is one more thing. My master has awakened the hidden saint body within me. This saint body is, from now on, I shall cultivate together with the 5th senior brother. You have no objections, do you? Suanwan looked at me with cold indifference before turning to the burly man, offering him a sweet, endearing smile. She was certain that I would not dare to voice any disagreement. After all, my cultivation base was merely at the first level of the Tribulation Transcendence stage, while her 5th senior brother stood at the pinnacle of the Tribulation Transcendence stage. I was clearly no match for him. She must have assumed I would be filled with resentment, desperate to utter a few words to hold on to her. However, the very next moment my reply left her completely stunned. In that case, how could I have any objections? This is truly wonderful. Hearing me address Suanwan in such a manner, I made sure my expression revealed genuine joy. Not only does she rely on the sect's prestige, but she has also found the next fool to shoulder her burdens. Just look at this 5th senior brother. That clear, slightly naive gaze of his, he is clearly the perfect candidate for a devoted follower. Do not blame me, brother. You are the one who threw yourself into this fire. This is your destined tribulation. Suanwan stared at me, dumbfounded, unable to believe what she was hearing. You agree? Of course I agree, junior sister. You have finally found your own happiness. I can finally consider the late master's dying wish fulfilled. No sooner had I finished speaking than I lunged before the burly man, gripping his hand tightly. Little brother, I see that you possess extraordinary talent and your appearance is a perfect match for my junior sister. You truly are a pair made in heaven. From now on, I entrust her into your care. Before arriving, the burly man had already been prejudiced by Suanwan's words, led to believe that I was a difficult, unreasonable man. Yet, seeing my deeply moved expression as if I were a brother marrying off his own kin, he found himself caught off guard. Rest assured, sir, I will certainly treat the junior sister well. I patted his hand firmly, heaving a long sigh of relief. At last I am free of you, Suanwan. Her jaw dropped. This turn of events was the complete opposite of what she had envisioned. She reacted instantly. This is wrong. He must be putting on a facade, forcing himself to remain calm. Let us not remain here speaking. Let us return to the Sect Master's hall. I nearly forgot to ask. How should I address you, young brother? I took the burly man's hand and offered a gentle, serene smile as we flew toward the main hall, not forgetting to wave my hand to disperse the crowd below. However, the elders and disciples were not so easily dismissed. Filled with bewilderment and burning curiosity, they stealthily followed us back to the Sect Master's hall. I kept a firm hold on Lu Hao's hand, refusing to let go. Having him seated right beside me seemed to be making him somewhat bashful. Lu Hao, since you appear younger than I shall address you by your name. If you do not mind, simply call me Brother Chang'an. My smile was warm and amicable, leaving no room for refusal. Lu Hao found this perfectly reasonable and happily replied, Very well, Brother Chang'an. I nodded in satisfaction. Immediately thereafter, my demeanor shifted completely as I wore my signature artificial smile. Lu Hao, I have been considering whether you and Wanwan intend to focus solely on dual cultivation, or if you should prioritize the marriage arrangements first. Following traditional protocol, I would likely have to consult my master regarding the marriage, Lu Hao replied while sheepishly scratching his head. No, the master is the master, but marriage is a matter for one's family. I am, after all, Wanwan's family. I am certain your master would not involve himself in such trivialities. He is far more concerned with your cultivation progress than your personal affairs. I spoke with a tone of earnest persuasion. Lu Hao pondered this for a moment before nodding in agreement, noting that his master truly did not care for their romantic matters. As for family, I have none left in this world, he added. I patted his shoulder. If you have no family, then hold the wedding ceremony at my sect. I shall take it upon myself to oversee the arrangements. What do you say? From this day forth, we shall be one family. Lu Hao was left reeling by my words and instinctively moved to nod, but he caught himself and looked towards Suanwan. Suanwan stood there with a blank expression. Dual cultivation was one thing, but marriage was entirely out of the question. That would lead to endless complications in the future. Yet, if she were to refuse now, would it not cause Lu Hao deep distress? That is, Suanwan faltered, hesitant. Understanding her inner turmoil all too well, I immediately interjected. I understand Wanwan perfectly. I consider myself to be her eldest brother. As the saying goes, an elder brother acts in the stead of a father. Before my master passed away, he instructed me to find a suitable match for Nuanoan to marry. I have determined that you, Lu Hao, are that very person, and so I have decided we shall wed. I patted Lu Hao on the shoulder, wearing the brightest smile I could muster. Lu Hao swallowed hard, thinking to himself that I was truly a virtuous person. Very well. Now let us discuss the wedding arrangements. A glint of triumph flickered in my eyes. My expression suddenly shifted to one of profound gravity. Before we discuss the ceremony, there is something I must confess to you and Nuanuan. Please speak your mind, Brother Chang'an. Seeing my sudden seriousness, Lu Hao straightened his posture. Over 5 years ago, before my master departed this world, he grasped my hand tightly and made me swear to him that in this life I would look after Nuanuan with the utmost care and grant her every request. As a man who values loyalty and righteousness above all, I kept my word, and for the past 5 years I have tended to Nuanuan with meticulous devotion. Whatever she desired I provided. Everything I possessed was dedicated to her. Upon hearing this, Su Nuanuan, who had been in a daze, felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Wait, do you mean to say that you have been pandering to me for the past 5 years solely because of my father? I did not just speak aloud, I infused my voice with my cultivation base so that it resonated throughout the entire tavern. I knew full well that the elders and disciples were eavesdropping. This was the golden opportunity I needed to shed the reputation of being a love-struck fool. Lu Hao blinked, for he too had heard rumors of my history with Su Nuanuan. Now, hearing my declaration, his emotions were deeply conflicted. To go to such lengths simply because of a master's final wish? This man is truly worthy of respect. Catching the look of trust in Lu Hao's eyes, I immediately dove into my role, my eyes reddening as I spoke with heavy emotion. Lu Hao, I know you are a man of honor. I entrust Nuanuan to you, and you must treat her as devotedly as I once did. Lu Hao vowed solemnly, I shall certainly fulfill this duty. I offered an appreciative smile and deftly changed the subject. Very good. Let us resume our discussion regarding the wedding. According to our sect's traditions, Lu Hao nodded, signaling that he understood. In that case, Lu Hao, take a look at this. I produced a yellowed notebook and handed it to Lu Hao. Everything I have sacrificed for Ngoan over the years is recorded here. Consider it our dowry. Do you agree? Lu Hao took the notebook, his body stiffening. He stared blankly at Ngoan, then back at me. You have done all of this for her? Lu Hao, your sect is certainly no small matter. However, regarding the engagement gift, a sincere heart is enough. There is no need to match the value of the dowry. I feigned a casual demeanor, though I knew full well this boy was a massive windfall. Backed by a powerhouse at the peak of the tribulation transcendent stage, his sect was undoubtedly extraordinary. He was more than capable of paying the price. In truth, I was not greedy. Receiving 80% of the value in return would suffice. Lu Hao hesitated slightly. While his own savings were substantial, they were barely equivalent to what I had invested. Just then I spoke up actually. Once you and Gongon are wed, you will be one. If you both cultivate together and progress, are the resources I provided to Ngoan not also meant for you? Do you not agree? Lu Hao blinked his clear eyes, seemingly finding my logic sound. Very well, the engagement gift I provide shall be exactly this amount. My heart rejoiced and I smiled, saying, excellent. I shall go out and make the announcement now. I am no fool. I must broadcast this to the entire world, making it impossible for Lu Hao to regret his decision. Having said this, I soared out of the great hall and declared my proclamation clearly toward the heavens. My voice echoed for 100 miles. Upon returning to the inn, I patted Lu Hao on the shoulder with a radiant smile. It is settled. Within a few days, the entire cultivation world will know. Lu Hao is the husband of my Ngoan. Lu Hao scratched his head, feeling somewhat bashful, and quickly handed me a storage ring. Brother Chang'an, this is the engagement gift I have prepared. Please, take a look. I swept my divine sense through it and my eyes lit up with greed. Truly, this boy is remarkably wealthy. Ngoan, from now on you must serve Lu Hao well. I looked at Ngoan, grinning as craftily as a merchant. Only then did Ngoan snap back to reality, so infuriated she wanted to curse, yet she could not utter a single word. How did it come to this? I do not wish to be married, senior brother. I wish to speak with you in private. I pondered those words carefully, managing only to utter a single sentence. A smirk played on my lips. Now that the item was safely in my possession, it mattered not how much she struggled. Thus I replied, very well. She led me into the resting chamber behind the shop, her brow furrowing as she asked, Senior brother, what exactly are you doing? Do you no longer love me? Hearing those words and observing her forced, coquettish expression, I felt nothing but shivers down my spine. Junior sister, what are you doing? I have never loved you. I have only ever regarded you as a younger sister. Do not let Lu Hao hear such talk, I said, sternly drawing a clear line between us. My past care for you was entirely out of respect for Master's final instructions. Do not let your imagination run wild. Her mouth twitched, and for a moment she was speechless before muttering, You are merely deceiving yourself. She felt a surge of indignation and began to pout, attempting to act spoiled. Senior brother, it is not as if I cannot be with you. Could you go out there and convince fifth senior brother to abandon his plans to marry me? I shall return to visit you often in the future. What do you think? Junior sister, if you persist in this behavior, I shall inform Lu Hao. You would not want Lu Hao to know the kind of person you truly are, would you? My expression remained cold, though I laughed inwardly. Do not do that. I know you are only angry, senior brother, but it is not as if I truly desire him. My heart has clearly always belonged to you. It is simply that I do not wish to abandon the bright future lying ahead. In the future, my cultivation level will ascend rapidly, perhaps even to the point of ascending to immortality. Upon hearing these words, I felt a wave of profound revulsion. She seemed blind to my changing complexion, continuing to paint a ludicrous and hollow vision. Senior brother, let me tell you, my current master is no mere mortal. He hails from the immortal realm. As long as you help me stifle 5th senior brother's intentions and continue to pamper and assist me as you once did, you will be able to rely on me to reach the immortal realm in the future. I am bestowing a great opportunity upon you. The more she spoke, the more arrogant and conceited she became. Had I not possessed the system, I might have actually been swayed. But now, my cultivation in the divine realm is already the strongest. What is that wretched immortal realm to me? Yet here she is weaving such absurd fantasies in my presence. Junior sister, I have made myself very clear. That I was kind to you before was solely due to our master's instructions. Now that someone else treats you better, you should think carefully about how to turn him into the man I once was. Say nothing more. I am leaving. My attitude was absolute and resolute. Did she truly believe I wished to grovel at her feet? If not for the task mandated by the system, anyone who would debase themselves for her would be no better than a dog. As I strode away, I watched Suaner angrily snap that I would eventually regret this. I quickly returned to Lu Hao's side, maintaining a radiant smile, and instructed my disciple to arrange accommodations for him. My only legacy disciple is Murong Xue, who also transmigrated here. Over the past 5 years, she is the one I have been closest to. Lu Hao happened to be looking for a place to contact his sect, so this was a matter that truly needed to be reported. By the time Suaner reappeared, her expression had returned to a state of calm. Her schemes were truly profound. After Lu Hao and Suaner departed, the great hall finally fell into silence. Murong Xue returned to my side, and I noticed the gaze she fixed upon me was no longer marked by a frown. Perhaps in the past, she had viewed me as nothing more than a bootlicker. Murong Xue's expression had truly shifted, for she finally understood why I had acted as I did in the beginning. She had followed me since she was very young, and knew me to be a gentle and humble person. She had never understood why I would cross so many boundaries for the sake of my fellow disciple. It turned out it was because I valued my promises and our bond far too highly. Xiaoxiu, issue an order to the entire sect to prepare for a grand wedding and send invitations widely to ensure the entire cultivation world takes notice. Make sure to explicitly state that the man Suaner is about to marry is a supreme expert at the peak of the tribulation transcendent stage. If I did not mention this detail, I fear the number of guests would be meager. Murong Xue bowed solemnly and replied, "This disciple obeys." I nodded, signaling for her to carry out the task. However, I soon realized something and called for her to stop. "Wait," I said, staring intently at Murong Xue. Now that I have grown stronger, I discovered that I could perceive things that were previously hidden from my sight. Just like when I looked at Suaner and Lu Hao earlier, I could. At this moment, I stared intently at Murong Xue, noting a distinct flow of violet energy coursing through her body. I descended before her and spoke gently. "Trust your master, do not resist the flow of my spiritual energy." As I placed my hand upon her abdomen, her cheeks flushed crimson, but she quickly felt a surge of warmth permeating her entire being. In the very next moment, a clear, resonant tolling of a temple bell echoed within her ears. Following this, she discovered that her cultivation had surged by 2 major realms, reaching the soul transformation stage in a single stride. Murong Xue's expression shifted to one of sheer astonishment. I withdrew my hand, smiling as I said, "I have helped you awaken your sacred body." Indeed, a sacred body. The Ice Phoenix sacred body. Memories of an ancient inheritance suddenly flooded Murong Xue's mind, and in an instant she understood everything. "Master, did you know I possessed a sacred body? And the sacred body at that. Does the awakening process not usually take a great deal of time?" She found it impossible to believe. All I had done was place my hand upon her for a mere moment. I smiled and said, "Ask no further, go attend to your duties." Murong Xue drew a deep breath, offered a respectful bow, and departed. Once my disciple had left, I curled the corner of my lip, carefully sensing the terrifying strength pulsating within my own body. Truly formidable. Once I cleanse myself of this humiliating reputation as a sycophant, I shall be as free as a bird soaring in the vast sky. No matter where I travel in the future, I must leave behind a legacy of honor. For the strong reputation is of the utmost importance. I have already devised a plan. On the day of the wedding, before the eyes of the entire cultivation world, I shall put on an exquisite performance. I will claim that when I was younger, I mistook the affection of a brother for the passion of a lover. That after my confession was rejected, I finally awakened, and have merely been fulfilling my master's dying wish by looking after her. As long as I displayed genuine joy while giving my sister away, I believe no one will harbor suspicion any longer. It is high time this label of a sycophant is stripped away. Meanwhile, the elders of the Qingyun sect had gathered once more. Alas, it is my fault for having misunderstood the Sect Master. I never imagined he was a man of such profound honor. One elder struck his chest in deep remorse. Indeed, the Sect Master is a true man of character. Just as everyone was expressing their regret, the great elder furrowed his brow and said in a grave tone, "Do not be so quick to draw conclusions." He continued, "We all understand the true nature of our former Sect Master. I do not believe he would ever have left behind such a testament." As these words were spoken, everyone present fell into deep thought. It was true that the former Sect Master, in their memory, had dedicated his entire life to the sect. How could he have made such a bizarre promise to Lin Zhong? The great elder spoke in a low, solemn voice, "The wedding is not far off. I have a way to obtain a heart-questioning stone. If that Chen Anbang continues to speak such claims when the time comes, I will force him to undergo the heart-questioning ceremony before the entire assembly." Once this was said, the entire hall fell into a deathly silence. "Everyone, consider this. If we do not lift this veil ourselves, and it is exposed by others later, where will our sect's reputation be left?" These words from the great elder shattered all remaining hesitation among the crowd. With that, they all reached a consensus. On the other side, Lu Hao had already established contact with his master's sect. His master, located in the heart of the mortal realm, had established an organization known as the Heavenly Venerate Pavilion. Most of the top-tier experts in the mortal realm had joined it in secrecy. His master had 6 disciples, he was the 5th and Su Wanwan was the 6th. Soon, Lu Hao ended the transmission. The sect does not oppose the marriage, but the ceremony must be postponed by 10 days. Waiting for my master to emerge from seclusion, Lu Hao immediately rushed to find me. Brother Anbang, I have returned. Hearing his voice, the corners of my mouth curled up involuntarily. I stood up and asked, have you already made contact with your sect? Lu Hao nodded. The wedding requires a delay. It will be held in 10 days. My master is currently in seclusion. I smiled and said, that is no problem. As long as it can be held, that is all that matters. There is more, Brother Anbang. I must tell you about my master. Lu Hao's face was filled with pride. My master is actually a being from the divine realm. Due to a betrayal, he was severely wounded and forced to flee to the mortal realm to recover. The force he is currently building is none other than the Heavenly Venerate Pavilion. I raised an eyebrow, somewhat astonished. The strongest individuals in the mortal realm have all joined the Heavenly Venerate Pavilion. Once we are wed, we will be family. So not long ago, I petitioned my sect to allow Brother Anbang to join the Heavenly Venerate Pavilion as well. I looked at Lu Hao's naive smile, momentarily at a loss for words. This young man is truly a kind soul, almost to the point of foolishness. Of course, I must bear this burden myself. Consider it a trial I must endure. Is that so? Does your sect agree to this? I spoke with a faint smile. There is one condition, Lu Hao said. You must pass the examination of my sect. Naturally, with me there, they will go easy on you. I was just about to agree. The system's voice suddenly echoed, triggering a mission: accept the proposal. The system rewarded me with a pill of immortal ascension. Anyone who consumes it, even a mere mortal, can instantly possess the strength of an immortal. It even comes with a reward. This pill of immortal ascension will be perfect for my disciple to consume. Very well, when is the examination? I replied with a decisive smile. Lu Hao laughed as he answered, tomorrow, and my 4th senior sister will be the one to arrive. Allow me to reveal a small detail. Her cultivation has already reached the immortal realm. You must ensure, Brother Anbang, that you do not displease her. A senior sister, you say? I nodded with a smile. Meanwhile, at a residence halfway up the mountain of the sect, Su Guanguan was conversing with a woman in a red dress. I certainly did not suffer a loss, but you do not know his true face. My father would surely never have entrusted him with my care. That Chen Anbang, he is only angry because he saw that I found a better man than him. The more Su Guanguan thought about it, the more furious she became. I share your sentiment. The woman in the red dress glanced around cautiously. Lowering her voice, she said, I will tell you this in secret. You must not breathe a word of this to anyone. Especially not to the Sect Master, the woman in the red dress whispered, recounting the scheme of the Great Elder and his followers to use the heart-questioning stone. That is excellent. Upon hearing this, Su Guanguan's eyes lit up. After all, the one who lied was Chen Anbang. His losing face at the wedding ceremony was entirely his own doing. It also serves as perfect proof of how detestable he truly is. The fact that Lu Hao actually wanted to allow Chen Anbang to join the Tianzun Pavilion made her feel even more resentful. Just wait, I have already... Early the next morning, Su Guanguan departed the sect to welcome a woman even more beautiful than herself. This woman was adorned in a magnificent flowing purple dress, possessing an elegant aura and a flawless physique. She was none other than Su Guanguan's 4th senior sister, a true immortal in her own right. Su Guanguan had contacted her 4th senior sister beforehand, intending to orchestrate a scheme that would leave me filled with endless regret. Chen Anbang, do you truly wish to join the Heavenly Venerable Pavilion? I shall denounce your transgressions before the 4th senior sister, and we shall see if you are even capable of entering. Su Guanguan brought the woman back to her residence, where she embellished the stories of my past fawning behavior, painting herself as the victim. 4th senior sister Li Shuya listened in silence. Once Su Guanguan had finished, Li Shuya spoke, such an individual is truly unworthy of joining our Heavenly Venerable Pavilion. Su Guanguan revealed a triumphant smile. Not long after, Lu Hao also arrived to meet with Li Shuya. The 3 of them walked together toward the Sect Master's hall, where Lu Hao called out, Brother Anbang, are you within? Lu Hao's cheerful voice echoed, leaving Su Guanguan speechless as she glared at him. This 5th senior brother was truly beyond hopeless. I heard his voice and stepped out, a smile upon my face. Upon catching sight of Li Shuya, a flicker of peculiarity crossed my expression. I politely invited them inside. Brother Chang'an, this is my 4th senior sister. Li Shuya, a woman of extraordinary talents. Lu Hao began to chatter incessantly. Li Shuya elegantly waved her hand to cut him off, then turned her gaze toward me. Those who join the Heavenly Venerable Pavilion must be figures whom the mortal realm holds in awe, possessing both innate talent and impeccable character. May I ask what your particular forte is? Her tone carried a hint of scrutiny and disdain. I replied with confidence, could I say that I possess all 3? I was well aware that the profound strength bestowed upon me by the system remained concealed from the outside world. In the eyes of others, I appeared to be nothing more than a first-level tribulation transcender. I believed my strength was sufficient and my character acceptable. As for academic mastery, I was quite skillful, being well-versed in poetry, literature, and songs, a claim that surely sounded like shameless boasting. Li Shuya was undoubtedly thinking the same, yet she merely said, very well, let us proceed with the evaluation. talent and innate strength are plain to see. But as for your character and scholarly accomplishments, let us see you demonstrate them. Lu Hao hurriedly winked at her, signaling her to go easy, but Li Shuya acted as if she had seen nothing. Su Wanwan whispered with joy in her heart. Chen Chang'an, just wait and regret this. As for my own strength and talent, I believe I am quite adequate. I see no reason to conceal them. I shall teach her a lesson directly. Li Shuya stood up calmly, walked to the open space in front, and looked at me. Attack me at your leisure. If you can reveal something truly remarkable, I will admit that my judgment of people is lacking. My lips curled into a smirk. I was beginning to feel intrigued. I perceive a flow of sword intent radiating from your body. You must be an expert sword cultivator. Your insight is quite decent. Li Shuya was slightly startled. What a coincidence. I am a sword cultivator as well. If you wish to witness my strength, I shall show it to you. As I spoke, a long sword materialized in my hand, but I did not stand, remaining seated regally upon my throne, my gaze fixed upon Li Shuya. The very next moment, a surge of overwhelming sword intent descended upon her. She was stunned. Her elegant composure vanished completely, and she stared at me with wide, astonished eyes. Impossible, this is offensive sword intent. Li Shuya frantically channeled her own sword intent to resist, but no matter how hard she struggled, she could not withstand the pressure of my sword intent. Trapped under this immense pressure, she suddenly experienced a moment of enlightenment. Her sword intent had actually achieved a breakthrough. I was slightly surprised, but the smirk remained on my lips. Did you think I possessed only sword intent? A surge of sword intent as terrifying as a landslide and a tidal wave crashed directly toward her. Sword heart. Li Shuya stood frozen. In the entire mortal realm, was it not only her master who had attained a sword heart? The horrific pressure caused sweat to pour down her forehead, and her legs began to buckle. She was on the verge of collapsing to her knees. Just as she stood on the precipice of disaster, I instantly withdrew my pressure, retracting the sword heart. Ha ha. Li Shuya gasped for air, staring at me with eyes full of terror. Su Wanwan and Lu Hao looked on, their faces filled with confusion. What had just transpired? They had only seen Li Shuya step forward, only to be left flushed and gasping for air shortly after. Anyone unaware of the truth might have mistaken her reaction for something else entirely. Is there any need to continue? I spoke with a voice full of hidden meaning. Throughout last night, I had been studying, and I discovered that not only had my cultivation base grown stronger, but my comprehension of the sword Dao had also leaped to the pinnacle realm. Just now, I had not even used my full strength, otherwise she would have already been rendered unconscious. There is no need. Previously I was blind and failed to recognize a true expert. Li Shuya's voice was filled with deep reverence. To have comprehended the sword heart at only the first stage of tribulation transcendence. What a terrifying level of talent for the sword Dao this is. At this moment she turned to look at Su Wanwan, her eyes full of bitterness. Junior sister, you have truly brought disaster upon me. Senior sister, what has come over you? Su Wanwan could no longer contain herself, and I immediately interjected. If that is the case, do I possess the qualifications to enter your Tianzun pavilion? Li Shuya took a deep breath and bowed respectfully toward me with cupped hands. Naturally you do. To be able to invite you to join the Tianzun pavilion is our honor. As those words were spoken, Su Wanwan was left completely stunned. What does this mean? We have not even fought yet. How has it already become an honor? Senior sister, your show of favoritism is far too blatant. So I am being admitted just like that? I've said it before, I possess both noble character and profound learning. Should you not test me further? I care more about one's character. A person capable of reaching a realm such as yours. Surely there is no need to question your character. Li Shuya understood clearly that one who could manifest the sword heart must possess a clear and transparent mind. There was no need for such a person to engage in deception. It appears that Su Wanwan has misunderstood me. If you are willing to display your talents, we would be honored to witness them. Li Shuya's tone carried a hint of anticipation. I smiled. I am well versed in the four arts, the zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. You may choose one. Li Shuya's beautiful eyes lit up, clearly impressed by my confidence. The skill she took the most pride in was the art of the zither. Then would you— Her tone became humble, perhaps without her even realizing it. I offered a faint, dismissive smile. Tunguan and Lu Hao were filled with suspicion. Why did it feel like there was something strange about these two? I sat upon the throne, an ancient zither resting across my lap, plucking a single note at will. It was a melody I held in high regard. The opening notes of Kong Hai Yi Sheng Xiao resonated throughout the grand hall. In that instant, the very air seemed to freeze. Li Shuya and the others widened their eyes in unison. They had never heard this melody before, and its boldness was truly profound. Just as she became lost in the music, I began to sing. The vast sea laughs, the tides on both shores surge. My voice rose and fell with a grand heroic resonance. In that fleeting moment within Li Shuya's eyes, I appeared as a sovereign deity descending from the upper realms, my entire being radiating a golden light, and she was completely enthralled. I do not know how much time had passed when I finally stopped, yet the melody seemed to linger, echoing within the hall. How does my mastery of the zither fare in your eyes? As Li Shuya broke the silence, her expression remained dazed and bewildered. Suddenly, she posed a question. Do you have a companion by your side? As soon as those words were uttered, not only were Tunguan and Lu Hao taken aback, but even I was stunned. Was that not a query about having a wife? I was rendered utterly speechless by Li Shuya's sudden question. What could she possibly mean by asking if I had a wife? Having asked something so unexpected, Li Shuya herself faltered, clearly realizing the impropriety of her words. Yet the words had been spoken, and she could only wait for my reply. I shook my head, stating that I had dedicated half my life to the path of music and cultivation. She smiled, her gaze burning with an intensity as she looked at me. Lu Hao, standing to the side, watched with glowing eyes, his admiration for me growing deeper still. Although he did not possess an ear for music, my performance allowed him to feel the vast, unconstrained nature of life itself. Furthermore, the fact that I had spent years unselfishly upholding a single promise spoke to a character and integrity that defined a true man. Tingoangoan's expression began to contort. The discomfort in her heart felt like a stone blocking her path. Why was this the first time she had heard me play? She had to admit that this skill was truly peerless, but no matter how magnificent it was, it shouldn't have been enough to make her senior sister ask such a question, should it? Could it be that she had set her sights on me? I previously said I was pursuing her only because of a request from her father. From now on I shall cease. She was indeed somewhat displeased, though her emotional reaction was not significant. She was certain that I was lying. Knowing full well that my future was beyond her reach, she found herself deeply unsettled. You still have not answered me, Excellency. How is my mastery of the zither? I asked directly. My tone was filled with complete confidence. Li Shuya took a deep breath, her expression grave and solemn. I am 45 years old. I began learning the zither at 10, became acquainted with the zither master, and have studied the instrument for 20 years. If we are to speak of zither artistry, I am willing to address you as my master. Suanwan and Lu Hao remained quite composed, but Li Shuya continued. Furthermore, you likely stand a level above the zither master himself. Both of them widened their eyes in shock. I smiled and nodded, having already acquainted myself with the history of musical law in this world. Do not be deceived by the fact that those in the cultivation world enjoy longevity. Their creative achievements in musical law pale in comparison to those of Earth. People here are far more concerned with cultivation base, and only the strong bother to study musical law when they are bored, and even then only a handful of individuals. I wonder, Excellency, how many more compositions of this caliber do you possess? Li Shuya asked suddenly. Too many to count? I replied nonchalantly, leaving her once again stunned and frozen in place. If you wish to learn, I can instruct you whenever I am free. I laughed heartily. There was no need for her to tail Suwanwan any longer. It was time to make a few new friends. Li Shuya was overjoyed and hurriedly cupped her hand, saying, Whenever you have time, Excellency, please feel free to seek me out. Let us exchange communication marks. I agreed to the proposal. She moved with light steps, gliding toward me. We produced our communication artifacts and inscribed our divine sense marks upon them, marking our divine sense. Suwanwan stood to the side watching, her heart constricting as if pierced by a blade. Senior sister, what are you doing? And what about me? Brother Chang'an, I still do not have your communication mark. Lu Hao also walked over with a smile, his manner of addressing me now carrying a sense of genuine respect. Goan gazed at the senior brothers and sisters. Before them, she wore a radiant smile. Yet she was the only one standing below on the verge of tears, making me the true outsider in this situation. She could not believe her eyes. She had clearly followed me here only to prevent me from joining the Heaven Venerable Pavilion. And yet not only have I joined, but I have also earned the profound respect of her own senior peers. She fell into a daze, oblivious to when she had followed Li Shuya and Lu Hao back to their residence. I was not present. Guan stared fixedly at Li Shuya. Senior sister, what is wrong? Are you saying his strength is truly formidable? Li Shuya recalled the things Guan had said earlier and spoke softly. Junior sister, you were wrong before, wrong by a vast margin. Chen Chang'an is a person of noble character, and his innate talent is absolutely terrifying. Even I must pay my respects. His medical skills are so profound that I can only look up to him in awe. She looked at Goan, lamenting her ignorance. With a senior brother such as him, if you were to seek his guidance earnestly, your own strength would surely improve by leaps and bounds. She had only been suppressed for a brief moment, yet she had already gained a breakthrough in her own cultivation. Goan did not realize what she had missed, having judged the heart of a gentleman with the measure of a petty person. He had treated her with such grace, and it was entirely possible he had done so out of respect for her father's request. Tingongon shook her head violently, her expression fraught with tension. Senior sister, you must be mistaken about something. Whether his strength is great or not, do I not know that better than anyone? I have known him since I was a child. Li Shuya's expression turned cold. Are you aware that his mastery of the sword Dao has already reached the sword heart realm? Tingongon's eyes widened even further. The sword heart realm, senior sister, you are truly mistaken. Senior sister, do not let him bewitch you. He has a silver tongue and is highly skilled at deceiving others. Besides, did you not say that by what right does he compare himself to our master? Suwanwan grew agitated, yet she became only more steadfast in her convictions. The senior sister has been deceived. This forced silence is utterly preposterous. Li Shuya rarely succumbed to anger. Upon their first meeting, she had genuinely believed Suwanwan to be a virtuous girl. Only now, upon closer reflection, did she realize how hopelessly deluded and beyond reason she truly was. Suwanwan shrank back, trembling under the sudden reprimand. Lu Hao hurried to mediate. Senior sister, please calm yourself. Junior sister Wanwan ceased provoking the senior sister further. She was truly astonished. The senior sister was renowned for her gentle temperament and refined grace, yet she was now incensed to such a degree. Suwanwan lowered her head, yet remained unwavering in her stance. How could a man of his standing possibly possess the sword heart? She was certain that the senior sister had been led astray. Naturally, she was also surprised that I possessed such a sense of loyalty. Yet, in this world that worships the strong, what use is mere loyalty? She simply could not reconcile herself to the fact that the senior sister had scolded her on my account. Reflect upon your own conduct. Li Shuya had no desire to speak further. She looked toward Lu Hao, instructing him to watch over her closely and rectify that distorted way of thinking. Chen Chang'an is a senior worthy of her deepest respect. Do not let her stray further down this misguided path. With those words, she flicked her sleeves, vanishing into the void. Lu Hao bowed in respect to see the senior sister off, then turned toward Su Wanwan with an expression of utter helplessness. Su Wanwan's eyes reddened, tears threatening to spill. Senior brother, do you not believe my words? That Chen Chang'an absolutely does not possess a sword heart. It is nothing but a hollow facade. He has truly deceived everyone. Just wait a few more days and his true nature will inevitably be revealed. When the day of the wedding arrives and the elders bring forth the heart-questioning stone, his lies will surely be exposed. Lu Hao offered a bitter, helpless smile. In his heart, he found no agreement, yet he could only nod to soothe her. The Sect Master's hall was still desperately lacking funds. I stroked my chin, contemplating ways to acquire wealth. After receiving the Immortal Ascension pill as a reward, I summoned Murong Shui to present it to her, but she brought grave news in return. The wedding preparations are only half completed, and the sect's resources have already been exhausted. Even after I surrendered all the assets I had recently acquired, it was still insufficient. More troublingly, the sect's treasury is completely depleted. Come next month, we shall have no means to distribute stipends to the disciples. Never mind a full month, even within a single day, the sect will be filled with resentment. Human nature is, after all, pragmatic. Merely altering the impressions of the elders and disciples regarding me is not enough. I must provide material compensation to win back their true respect. After a moment of contemplation, my eyes brightened. I had conceived a simple way to acquire wealth. Though my strength was now considerable, I could not simply resort to plundering resources. Furthermore, ownerless resources are not easily found in such a short span of time. Yet I had just acquired a substantial windfall from Lu Hao. If the fifth disciple of this sect possessed such assets, then those of higher standing must surely be even wealthier. A smirk played upon my lips as I retrieved my sound transmission treasure to send a message to Li Shuya. I have a melody I wish to impart. Are you free? Within a mere moment, Li Shuya appeared before the Sect Master's hall. Haha, Miss Shuya, I have just composed a song that I wish to teach you. Seeing her, it was as if I saw a mountain of wealth approaching me. We agreed previously, let us maintain the decorum of young master and miss. She wore a long, elegant white dress, her movements as light and graceful as a celestial being stepping out of a painting. Very good, she could hardly wait. The last time I played the zither, she had only listened once without making an effort to commit it to memory, forgetting it the moment the music faded. Now, having learned a piece or two, she could display her refinement to friends and kin. However, I steered the conversation elsewhere and said, with a bitter smile, I must finally arrange the wedding for my virtuous brother Lu Hao and my gentle junior sister. I do not wish for it to be a meager affair, so I have planned it on the grandest scale. But as you know, our sect is not of the highest tier, and our funds were exhausted in the blink of an eye. Li Shuya sighed with emotion. You truly treat your junior sister as your closest kin, exhausting the resources of an entire sect to ensure a proper wedding. Brother Chen, what are you implying? She asked, after I had played for her first. Miss Shuya, judge this melody for yourself. If you find it pleasing, would you be willing to reward me with some resources as you see fit? I did not beat around the bush. My objective was straightforward, wealth. Li Shuya beamed, saying she greatly admired this candid nature of Brother Chen. That is easily arranged. I nodded with a smile. The goal had been achieved. I proceeded to use the zither to earn my keep. Li Shuya sat down gently, her eyes filled with admiration. As the music began, from the very first note, her expression turned vacant, lost in the melody. Even when I suddenly broke into song midway through, she had yet to recover from the transcendence of my voice. It was only when I finished that she slowly returned to her senses. The grand hall returned to silence. The blue of the sky waits for the drizzle, and I wait for you. Li Shuya's beautiful eyes widened as she murmured to herself, then looked in astonishment at me, sitting cross-legged upon the dais. Miss Shuya, what reward do you intend to bestow for this piece? My voice, as warm as jade, was like a soothing cup of tea. How much of a reward do I want? I wish to offer myself to you as the reward. These were the words she did not speak aloud. Even she herself did not understand the turmoil within her heart. For the first time since she was a child, her heart had been stirred in such a manner. She had never imagined that after meeting a man only a few times, she would already feel such affection for him. I frowned upon hearing this. Is it possible to enjoy such a fine melody without offering payment? I shall give all my wealth to you. She reacted quickly, producing her storage ring and offering it to me. I had just suspected she might try to evade payment, only to realize my mistake now. I smiled bitterly, realizing I had been overly cautious. That is not appropriate. You should keep some for yourself. I knew where to draw the line. If I took everything, she might come to regret it later. She might even harbor resentment toward me. Taking a portion will suffice. Give me half. She also felt that giving everything away was improper, yet truly valuing the song, she genuinely wished to surrender it all. The song was so exquisite that she remained immersed in its poetic and melodic depth, unable to fully escape its charm even now. Very well, I shall not stand on ceremony then. Taking the storage ring and observing its contents, my eyes lit up. Half of Li Shuya's fortune was already equal to the entirety of Lu Hao's assets. This was a massive gain. The sheet music and lyrics were already written upon the parchment. Having prepared in advance, I produced a sheet filled with musical notations and calligraphy and handed it to her. She received it with great care. She examined it thoroughly, then retrieved her zither to begin practicing. I also provided her with a few pointers. When she played it for the second time, I was astounded to find that she could perform the piece almost perfectly, even beginning to sing along. Her voice was gentle, elegant, truly beautiful and remarkable. Brother Chen, did you compose this song yourself? I wonder for whom did you compose it? She held her breath as I smiled and replied naturally, it is all for the sake of Miss Shuya. I chose a song from your idol specifically to teach you so that I might earn some wealth from you. Upon hearing this, his cheeks flushed with a bashful rosy hue. So it was for me? The sky longs for the rain, just as I have been waiting for you. Could it be that after our meeting, he realized I am the one he has been waiting for? The more Brother Chen thought about it, the more his face burned. He had never experienced such a sensation, his heart racing like a wild horse that had broken free from its reins. I still have matters to attend to. Brother Chen, I shall take my leave now. I will practice diligently. He truly could not withstand this state of mind, and before he lost control of his composure, he quickly vanished into the void. An enigmatic expression flickered across my face. I weighed the storage ring in my hand and said with a smile, this should be enough for now, though I should still seek more opportunities to acquire further resources. The Susalsu has 5 senior brothers and sisters. I have already earned a tidy sum from 2 of them. There are still 3 more, and I am certain they will all attend the wedding. When that time comes, I shall find ways to profit from them as well. That should be sufficient. I find myself looking forward to the arrival of the members of the docile Su sect even more. And then there is that master of hers. According to the system, I am undoubtedly stronger than the old man. Perhaps I might even be able to address him as little brother. If I truly manage to establish such a brotherhood, then my dear junior sister, what will you have to call me? A mischievous thought sprouted in my mind, and the more I pondered it, the more amused I became. This is excellent. The night at the Qingyun sect was filled with profound silence. As time passed, the horizon began to glow with the first light of dawn. Amidst the ethereal mist halfway up the mountain, a young male cultivator with a sturdy physique sat upon a weathered stone bench, a foolish, simple smile upon his face, as he spoke softly to a small bird perched upon his finger. Lu Hao had just finished his cultivation, and having nothing else to do, he utilized the silver bird technique to attract the avian creatures. He kept many animals at home. Usually, apart from his cultivation, he would frequently spend time conversing and playing with them. He was even asking the bird how he might offer comfort to the docile Su. Last night, he had remained by the docile Su's side, and though she had calmed down, her brows remained furrowed in distress. Just as Lu Hao was occupied with the small bird, his sound transmission treasure suddenly vibrated. After receiving the message, his eyes brightened, and he headed toward the residence not far away. Junior sister, the 3rd senior brother, just sent a message saying he will arrive within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Let us go and welcome him. This statement caused the eyes of the previously sorrowful docile Su to light up instantly. 3rd senior brother has arrived at the perfect moment. The 4th senior sister has been of no help at all. Then, let the 3rd senior brother try. Lu Hao always stood by her side, but that blockhead was far too simple-minded. He was convinced the moment she spoke. Her 3rd senior brother, however, was different. As far as she knew, he was obsessed with posturing and showing off before others. Moreover, he was highly intelligent and would certainly not follow in the footsteps of Lu Hao and Li Shuya. He would not be easily bewitched by her, and he would surely rebuke that man on her behalf. Let's go. Su Wanwan immediately regained her spirit and soared rapidly into the distance. Upon reaching the sect gates, she paused to consider, feeling it necessary to travel even further. This particular senior brother of hers was rather unique. His arrival would undoubtedly stir the entire sect. If she waited until then, she would never have the chance to speak with him privately. While they waited, a golden radiance appeared on the horizon. In the blink of an eye, a figure clad in robes as white as snow materialized before them. He stood upon the clouds, his posture straight as an arrow, his robes fluttering in the wind like a majestic pine. He appeared as an ethereal immortal, holding a jade-boned fan painted with mountains, rivers, and misty clouds. It was crafted with immense detail. The craftsmanship was exquisite. With every gentle flick of his fan, the heavens and earth seemed to tremble in resonance. 3rd senior brother. Lu Hao and Su Wanwan greeted him in unison. Why are you waiting here? Tianming asked with a look of confusion. He had already devised a grand entrance. He intended for his arrival at the Qingyun sect to trigger a heavenly phenomenon to herald his presence. Now, however, he had been intercepted by his junior disciples before he could even reach his destination. 3rd senior brother, I have something I must tell you. Su Wanwan flew over quickly, guiding Qi Tianming slowly toward the Qingyun sect. While they were still a few miles away, Qi Tianming listened as Su Wanwan recounted all that had transpired the previous day. His sword heart felt a flicker of astonishment. If anyone else had claimed that a person in the mortal realm had attained the sword heart realm, especially someone who was not his master, he would have scoffed and refused to listen. But because the person speaking was his 4th junior sister, it was different. That is right, senior brother. 4th senior sister has surely been bewitched. I have lived with Chen Anbang for all these years. How could I not know his true capabilities? He does possess a certain depth of character. But what of it? This man is surely lying. Now both the 5th senior brother and 4th senior sister have been deceived by him. Sungwan pouted, acting spoiled with exaggerated gestures. Lu Hao, standing nearby, furrowed his brows. Junior sister, you are speaking like that again. Qi Tianming cast a glance at Lu Hao. It was one thing for Lu Hao to be deceived, but as for the fourth junior sister, what would you have me do? He asked with a faint smile. You want me to expose him? That man Chen Anbang is truly vicious. Does he not claim to possess the Sword Heart Realm? Prove that he does not. Observing Sun Guanguan's uncharacteristic agitation, Qi Tianming offered an enigmatic smile and nodded. The trio quickly arrived before the gates of Qingyun's sect. Qi Tianming began to make an ostentatious display of his power. His folding fan stirred the heavens and the earth, manifesting all manner of miraculous phenomena. Dragons and phoenixes danced in the sky as aurora light bathed the heavens. The Qingyun sect began to fall into chaos. Li Shuya, who was practicing the zither, observed the shifting skies and immediately knew who had arrived. Her third senior brother, who loved to show off, had come. She vanished from her spot and appeared in the sky. Seeing Li Shuya, Qi Tianming said nothing, but flew toward her, utilizing a secret transmission technique they had used since their youth. They had joined the sect as children and grown up together, close as blood siblings. Junior sister, does that Chen Anbang truly possess the Sword Heart Realm? Qi Tianming asked. He would not be easily swayed by Sun Guanguan. Compared to her, he trusted Li Shuya far more. Have the junior brother and junior sister already spoken to you about it? Li Shuya responded calmly via telepathy, while Qi Tianming's expression remained indifferent. I happened to hear of this Chen Anbang situation. Previously, I paid no mind to it, viewing it merely as a trivial amusement. Since you have joined the sect, I have investigated thoroughly. Can someone at the first level of the Tribulation Transcendent stage truly possess such mastery of the Sword Heart Realm? Trust me, I am certain of it. Li Shuya did not elaborate, her eyes filled with conviction. Qi Tianming remained silent for a moment before replying with a transmission and a laugh. Then I must become well acquainted with him. Do not act recklessly. Am I the type of person who does not know their own limits? He replied with a laugh through his transmission, and Li Shuya said nothing further. Her third senior brother had been exceptionally clever since childhood. His only weakness was a penchant for showing off before others. Lu Hao and Sun Guanguan, oblivious to the telepathic exchange, were both somewhat confused. Upon entering the Qingyun sect, the group flew directly toward the Sect Master's palace. Inside the palace, I had just awakened from a slumber, only to be disturbed by the strange phenomenon occurring outside. Since arriving in this world, I have rarely enjoyed a peaceful sleep. Either cultivation renders sleep unnecessary, or one is simply unable to sleep at all. Now that I have reached the pinnacle, seeing the love-struck fool character setting finally about to be removed, my mood was immensely refreshed. For the past few days, I have been sleeping in. It seems another person from the sect has arrived. The corners of my mouth curled up in immense joy. With a flicker of my figure, I appeared in the sky outside. I saw Li Shui's group of 4 flying toward me. Welcome. I repeated the pleasantries from 2 days ago, my gaze sweeping over Qi Tianming several times. One look told me he was wealthy indeed. That fan is no simple object. Its value is certainly immeasurable. His robes are also quite expensive, crafted from a unique fabric. There is a flowing light shimmering upon them. It appears to be inscribed with spirit runes. A spirit rune master, perhaps? Spirit rune masters are the most respected profession in the cultivation world, even more prestigious than alchemists. An alchemist takes a great deal of time to refine a single medicinal pill, whereas a spirit rune master can craft talismans with incredible speed. A single low-grade talisman is worth a fortune, while a high-grade talisman is worth a mountain of gold. A wealthy patron has arrived at my doorstep. A flash of excitement ignited in my eyes. The renowned Sect Master Chen greeted him with a hearty, booming laugh. Qi Tianming swiftly streaked across the sky. Arriving before me, he enthusiastically grasped my hand. It is I who should say that. I have long admired your great reputation. I simply did not expect you to be even more handsome in person than the rumors suggested, and your temperament is truly extraordinary. My enthusiasm surpassed his, almost to the point of stepping forward to give him a warm embrace. Upon hearing this, a flicker of joy flashed in Qi Tianming's eyes. He was extremely confident in his appearance, perhaps even a bit narcissistic. Sect Master Chen is not bad himself. Haha, why still call me Sect Master Chen? I treat Wanwan like family. Since you are Wanwan's senior brother, you may simply address me as Brother Chen. Very well, Brother Chen. The two of them seemed to hit it off immediately, beginning to shower one another with flattery. Suan watched this scene unfold, feeling nearly dizzy with disbelief. This was entirely contrary to the situation she had anticipated. Although the fourth senior sister had maintained a cold demeanor at first, the third senior brother had become intimate with him upon their first meeting, inviting him in and suggesting they sit down to talk. That is right, Brother Qi. I would like to ask if you are a spirit master. After learning his name, I addressed him intimately as Brother Qi, never forgetting to confirm my own suspicions. He smiled and replied, I knew it. There is a distinct, indescribable aura about Brother Qi. I was certain you were a spirit master. I am truly delighted. Li Shuya shook her head inwardly. Whenever her third senior brother was this enthusiastic, it never boded well. The group entered the shop and took their seats one by one. Qi Tianming did not wait for me to open the conversation, and immediately said, I have heard that Brother Chen's sword cultivation has reached the realm of the Sword Heart. Would you be willing to allow me to broaden my horizons? Upon hearing this, Suanwan's eyes lit up and she looked at him with an expression full of appreciation, as he had not forgotten the task she entrusted to him. Chen Anbang, let us see how much longer you can continue this charade, pretending to have the Sword Heart realm. Why not just claim you have touched the great Tao of the sword, And reach the pinnacle of sword cultivation while you are at it? I replied, who told you I was at the sword heart realm? As soon as these words were uttered, Li Shuya and Lu Hao were stunned. Su Wanwan raised her eyebrows, her expression rapidly turning arrogant. I told you it was not true. Do you believe me now? Oh, but my fourth junior sister told me that you, like our master, possess the sword heart realm. Qi Tianming was also slightly surprised. Could the fourth junior sister have been mistaken, or was she deceiving them? However, the very next moment I smiled and said, in truth, I have comprehended the great Tao and reached the realm of sword Tao. The hall, which had been somewhat noisy, fell into such an absolute silence the moment my voice faded that one could hear a pin drop. Li Shuya blinked repeatedly, suspecting that she had misheard. Qi Tianming remained stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. I never expected Brother Chen to be so humorous and refined. It was as if he had met a match. It was the first time he had encountered someone who could perform even better than he could. Su Wanwan gave a cold laugh. I knew it. How could you possibly reach such a realm? Oh, so it is not the Sword Heart realm, but rather you have comprehended the Great Tao and reached the realm of Sword Tao. Is that it? Her sarcastic voice echoed throughout the hall. I glanced at this junior sister and shook my head inwardly. I am telling the truth. If you do not believe me, then there is nothing I can do. I saw no further reason for concealment, and prepared to reveal a single strike, but at that very moment, the low stern shout of Li Shuya interrupted me. Junior sister, do you consider my words to be of no consequence? Su Nuanwan shuddered, looking toward Li Shuya with a face full of grievance. He has already admitted to lying, so why do you continue to scold me? Lu Hao at this moment tugged at Su Nuanwan and whispered, Junior sister, do not interrupt while your senior brother and sister are speaking. Deep down, she felt a wave of resentment. They were her senior brother and sister, so why did they insist on favoring him? Chen Anbang, everyone, please show me some respect. Let us speak no more of the path of the sword. We came here to attend the wedding, and more importantly, to strengthen our bonds. Li Shuya cast a glance at me, her perspective on me shifting slightly. She was certain that I had attained the sword heart realm, but why then was I acting so flippantly now? Claiming to have realized a level of sword mastery that even their own master said was unreachable in this lifetime? I perceived the thoughts within Li Shuya's heart and nodded. Miss Shuya is correct. Qi Tianming, also showing respect to Li Shuya, smiled and said, let us not discuss cultivation today. How far have the preparations for Brother Chen's wedding come? My disciples have nearly finalized everything. This will undoubtedly be the most magnificent wedding in the mortal realm. Li Shuya smiled and added, Brother Chen has dedicated all of the sect's resources toward these wedding preparations. Upon saying this, she looked toward junior sister Su Nuanwan. You are blessed, yet you fail to realize it. The words that followed remained unspoken, but the implication was clear. If she were in my position, seeing Su Nuanwan marry Lu Hao would surely fill her with indignation. How could I so easily prepare such a grand wedding? Su Nuanwan's logic was quite simply devoid of reason. Su Nuanwan furrowed her brows tightly at this, for after learning that I lacked the sword heart realm, she had felt quite pleased, yet hearing this she felt an urge to retort. He is only doing this to save face, she thought. But fearing another reprimand from Li Shuya, the words were choked back in her throat. That is right, I previously heard the junior sister say that Brother Chen's romantic sensibilities are profound. I smiled and nodded before asking in return, Brother Qi, are you also well versed in the matters of the heart? Qi Tianming shook his head. No. I only have a superficial understanding. I am far more skilled in the arts of music. I'd hoped to rely on playing the zither to earn some spirit stones, but as for the game of Go, to be honest, I know a little, but it is truly just a little. Brother Chen, have you ever heard of Xiangqi? My expression shifted. I had indeed heard of Xiangqi, and I had even spent some time studying it, though my expression turned peculiar. While the cultivation world had Go, Xiangqi had never existed here until 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was reluctantly dragged along by some female friends to shop in the city. I was forced to accompany them for an entire month. Bored out of my mind, I befriended a young boy and taught him how to play Xiangqi, and we spent the next half-month playing together. Indeed, the reason Xiangqi exists in the cultivation world today is entirely because of me. In my previous life, during high school, I joined the Xiangqi Club solely because the girl I was fond of was a member. To impress her, I had memorized countless manuals and dedicated a great deal of effort to studying the game. Qi Tianming narrowed his eyes and smiled. This one is untalented, but ever since Xiangqi first emerged, I have been studying it, and currently, I can say that I have yet to meet a worthy opponent. I have even discovered techniques that others would never expect. Hearing this, the corner of my mouth could not help but curl upward. Hasn't the opportunity to make a fortune just arrived? Why don't you offer me some guidance, Brother Qi? I wore my characteristic deceptive smile. Those familiar with me know that I am about to dig a pit for someone to fall into. Qi Tianming smiled gently as he spoke. Excellent. He had spent the recent period studying Xiangqi and had just emerged from secluded cultivation, eager to find an opponent to showcase his skills. And so our interests aligned perfectly. Qi Tianming produced a board, as if he had been waiting for this exact moment to display his prowess. He had even laid out the pieces in advance. I observed his demeanor, a flicker of mockery flashing across my face. He is clearly in such a hurry to win the first game. I must remain calm. I will hold off on discussing the wager, and let him win a few moves first. Brother Chen, please make the first move. Qi Tianming, clearly unable to wait any longer, gestured for me to begin. I nodded and nonchalantly pushed the pawn forward. Qi Tianming was instantly invigorated, his eyes betraying a look of absolute certainty in his victory. The first step had gone perfectly. In his eyes, the rookie was clearly floundering. He chuckled as he moved his piece, and as we traded blows back and forth, my side of the board was slowly eroded by his relentless pressure. Before long, I was left with only a single cannon and a chariot. Brother Chen, you are still far too inexperienced. Qi Tianming furrowed his brow, his smile filled with arrogance. Although Su Wanwan had not studied this newly emerged form of chess, she could clearly see that my pieces were dwindling. Hearing Qi Tianming's words, her eyes brightened, as if she had finally found the release she needed to see me humiliated. Her mood improved significantly, and combined with her earlier assertion that I possessed no sword heart realm, she felt as though she had vented more than half the frustration that had built up over the past few days. It was truly refreshing for her. Lu Hao, failing to understand the situation, scratched his head in agitation. Li Shuya, however, had studied chess and understood its basic principles. Looking at the few pieces left on my side of the board, she had essentially resigned herself to the fact that I was certain to lose. She knew all too well of Qi Tianming's reputation in the art of strategy. Even the man known as the mortal chess master had once admitted that Qi Tianming's talent was formidable. I pretended to stroke my chin, slowly murmuring, I have not lost yet, let me see if there is still a chance. In truth, the pieces lost earlier were sacrificed deliberately. Now, it was time for me to close the net. Wait a moment. If I were to make this move, how would you respond? I feigned a sudden realization and moved my cannon to the bottom of the board. Check. You cannot block this. Qi Tianming immediately moved a piece to intercept, still brimming with confidence, but once my chariot began to move, his tone became significantly more resolute. Check. Qi Tianming's complexion shifted. He clearly sensed that something was amiss. He began to scramble defensively. Check again. He once again brought out a piece to block. My chariot continued its advance, capturing a piece while keeping the general in check. The tempo escalated in less than 3 breaths. Qi Tianming suddenly realized he had no pieces left to defend with. I gently moved my chariot, delivering the checkmate. Haha, it was merely luck. I adopted an expression of feigned surprise and bowed to him with folded hands. The corner of Qi Tianming's mouth twitched uncontrollably. He forced himself to remain calm and spoke with feigned seriousness. My apologies, I was careless just now. Upon hearing this, the corners of my mouth twitched involuntarily. Victory was clearly within his grasp, yet in the blink of an eye, how did he lose? Lu Hao and Li Shuya were also stunned. This sudden reversal was entirely unexpected. Brother Chen, let us play another round. The previous outcome was an oversight on my part. Qi Tianming had never known defeat. At this moment, he was feeling an unbearable sense of agitation within. I smiled and asked, you wish to continue playing? Forget it, no, let us continue, by all means. Seeing that he had taken the bait, I knew it was time to move to the main matter at hand. Brother Qi, playing for nothing is rather dull. Why don't we add some stakes to the game? Li Shuya's expression immediately shifted, turning quite peculiar. What kind of stakes are you proposing? Qi Tianming took a deep breath, clearly still convinced that I had only caught him off guard by sheer luck, and that I could not possibly be his superior in skill. Let us do it this way. Each round, we shall wager something. Brother Qi, you are a master of high-level spirit talismans, are you not? Why not bring out a few to serve as our wager? I donned my trademark insincere smile. That is easily done. Qi Tianming reached directly into his robe and produced a stack of spirit talismans, radiating with spiritual light, slamming them onto the table with a crisp sound. How much would you like to wager? I stared intently at the pile of high-level talismans, my eyes gleaming with anticipation. Let us start with 10. Very well, set the board. Begin. I immediately set up the chessboard. The second round commenced. This time I continued to yield, but only enough to appear slightly disadvantaged, ensuring he believed victory was within reach. After the duration of one incense stick, Qi Tianming sat in silence, staring intently at the checkmated position on the board, his brows furrowing tighter by the second. Very well, 20 spirit talismans will suffice for this round. The third round concluded even faster. In barely a dozen breaths, he had lost few pieces, yet his position was already locked in a total stalemate. Qi Tianming stared at the chessboard in shock, his expression filled with disbelief. I watched as his demeanor shifted from nonchalant to horrified, a sense of grim satisfaction rising within me. Is the young master starting to panic? This cannot be right. Qi Tianming was left utterly dumbfounded. Even he began to doubt his own capabilities. I added one more remark, my tone remaining remarkably calm. Brother Qi, shall we continue? Do you still have spirit talismans left? As if jolted back to reality by my voice, Qi Tianming frantically searched his storage ring, only to find nothing more. Having exhausted his supply of high-grade spirit talismans, I smiled. Cultivation resources will also suffice. As long as they hold value, I will accept them. Qi Tianming looked at me, his eyelids twitching uncontrollably. It was at this moment that he finally realized the truth. From the very beginning, I had been setting a trap, feigning weakness all along the way to lure him into the abyss. What was even more absurd was that my understanding of chess far surpassed his own. He began to suspect that I had even held back significantly during our initial games. After struggling with his thoughts for a long moment, he finally conceded, Brother Chen, today I admit complete and utter defeat. I stood obediently by his side, yet her complexion had darkened completely, her entire demeanor sluggish and dazed. The more I shone, the more displeased she became. Seeing that Qi Tianming had truly grasped the situation, I took the opportunity to offer him a graceful exit. Not at all. Brother Qi is truly formidable. It is only because I was instructed by an expert that I hold this advantage. There is no glory in such a victory. An expert? The chess venerable possible? It cannot be the chess venerable. Qi Tianming turned serious, but I did not answer his inquiry directly, instead shifting the topic. I have another intriguing game here. Would Brother Qi like to attempt it? Qi Tianming became instantly vigilant. Is this youth trying to deceive me again? I did not wait for his response, proceeding directly to set up an endgame scenario. Brother Qi, this is known as a stalemate puzzle. There is only one specific path to victory. Why don't you give it a try? Qi Tianming stared intently at the chessboard, his brows furrowing deeper with every calculation. This was clearly a dead-end formation. How could it possibly be won? He was struck by doubt. Allow me to demonstrate. However, I deliberately paused. Qi Tianming narrowed his eyes. Are you intending to ask for payment then? You are truly perceptive. I offered a faint, inscrutable smile. 10,000 spirit stones, how does that sound? He pondered for a moment, ultimately drawn in by his own curiosity. Here are your spirit stones. I immediately began my explanation. With each move executed, the state of the board shifted in a spectacular reversal. I brought the match to its final conclusion. Qi Tianming stared in complete astonishment. So, it was truly possible. Brother Chen, do you possess more of these endgame scenarios? His eyes burned with sudden intensity. I recall countless such patterns, I replied, my tone heavy with hidden meaning. I can lay them out for you and provide the solutions, but each one carries a price in spirit stones. Qi Tianming looked at me as if I were a profiteer, yet he remained visibly tempted. This method was clearly an excellent way to sharpen one's ability to turn the tide against adversity. He even began to suspect that in our first match, I had intentionally steered the game toward that specific endgame, only to deliver a decisive blow at the very end. He gritted his teeth. Fine, how many variations do you have? My smile broadened. 200 variations for 2 million spirit stones? Qi Tianming frowned, deep in thought for a long while before finally nodding. I only have 500,000 spirit stones on me. I shall craft spirit talismans over the next few days to settle the remainder. Does that suffice? I closed the deal immediately. Agreed, it is decided. I began transcribing the chess diagrams for him with nothing left to add. We each returned to our own tasks. Li Shui escorted Qi Tianming back to his residence. Throughout the journey, Qi Tianming kept muttering that Brother Chen had truly fallen into a bottomless pit of debt. He claimed that when he first arrived, he was still considered wealthy, but now he was penniless. Though he grumbled incessantly, his spirits were not dampened in the slightest. He had already come to terms with his defeat at my hands. After all, I was simply far too strong for him. He intended to memorize and study the chess manual I had given him thoroughly. In the future, he would have something to boast about, especially when facing Qi Zun. Last time he and Qi Zun were evenly matched, but he felt that in their next game of chess he would be able to dominate. Li Shuya shook her head and corrected him. Senior brother, you have misunderstood Brother Chen's greed. It is because he exhausted his wealth for the sake of the junior sister's wedding. I also learned a song from him and gave him more than half of my assets. The fact that he is desperate to earn money today must mean that it is still not enough. Qi Tianming was stunned, then turned his gaze toward Su Wanwan. Ever since I left the main hall, the Sect Master had been dejected and unhappy, especially after seeing me acquire a fortune. Her mood had worsened, and she remained unconvinced in her heart. She wondered why I, having stopped clinging to her, had suddenly become so adept at earning money. She even felt that those riches should have rightfully belonged to her. Qi Tianming stared at Su Wanwan with a strange expression, which only made her more irritated. Yet she was forced to lower her voice as she spoke. Senior sister, do not listen to his nonsense. Just how much could a single wedding cost? I heard he exhausted the resources of the entire sect to decorate for the wedding, and since he had already taken half of your assets, why would he still be so obsessed with obtaining spirit stones from the third senior brother? Qi Tianming found this reasoning sound and nodded in agreement. Li Shuya took a deep breath to suppress her anger, her expression growing unsightly. Junior sister, why can you not believe that he is a senior worthy of your respect? Su Wanwan hung her head out of habit. Qi Tianming suddenly thought of something, the corners of his mouth curling upward as he casually teased, Fourth junior sister. A single statement caused an immediate silence to fall over the room. Li Shuya stood frozen in place, her cheeks flushing a deep shade of crimson. Qi Tianming let out a hearty laugh, thinking, this is trouble, this is real trouble. My junior sister has finally found someone she fancies. Li Shuya raised her hand and struck Qi Tianming, retorting, what does that have to do with you? Look at that, still acting shy. If you like him, you must seize the opportunity. How about the two of you hold your wedding ceremonies together? It would only bring us closer, wouldn't it? Qi Tianming continued to tease them. Absolutely not. Su Wanwan suddenly shouted, leaving all three of them stunned. Lu Hao hurriedly tugged at her sleeve. Qi Tianming furrowed his brows. Junior sister Lu, why is that not acceptable? Li Shuya stared intensely at Su Wanwan, waiting for her to provide an explanation. Reminded of her slip, Su Wanwan finally snapped back to reality, forcing out a response. He is not worthy of senior sister. Li Shuya countered, why would he be unworthy? Brother Chen is a master of the zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and he has reached the sword heart realm. I find us to be a very suitable match. Upon hearing this, Qi Tianming's heart sank. This is not good, this is far from good. Su Wanwan gritted her teeth and raised her head. Senior sister, do you still not understand? He has not reached the sword heart realm at all. Why will you not believe me? Li Shuya was furious to the point of grinding her teeth. He is a sword cultivator who has reached the sword intent realm. Whether the other party possesses a sword heart or not, his words carry the most weight. Wait, let me correct the flow of line 24 for context. He is a sword cultivator who has reached the sword intent realm. Would he not know if the other party possesses a sword heart? Suwanwan grew increasingly agitated. He just confessed without even being pressured, and he even spoke of his own comprehension of the sword Dao. Why do you keep using his words to question me? Her eyes turned bloodshot as she glared at Li Shuya. Li Shuya also grew angry and let out a cold hum. She unleashed her sword intent, instantly suppressing Suwanwan. Suwanwan's face turned deathly pale and her entire body went limp. She found it difficult even to draw a breath. Lu Hao panicked, thus being to rush to Qi Tianming's side. The third senior brother, Qi Tianming, shook his head and waved his feathered fan, manifesting a barrier to separate the two. Suwanwan finally relaxed slightly, yet she remained filled with such indignation that tears welled in her eyes, refusing firmly to admit any wrongdoing. Qi Tianming cast a glance at Li Shuya, whispering a word of caution to his junior sister, do not cause a scene. However, Li Shuya glared at him, prompting him to immediately turn his attention back to Su Wangwan. His tone deepened as he said, Junior sister Lu, apologize to your senior sister. Su Wangwan simply wept in silence. Li Shuya remained unappeased. I'll use my sword intent to suppress her. Do you know why I struggled so much that day? It was because I was suppressed by Brother Chen's Swordheart. Su Wangwan still did not respond. Stealing a glance at the conflicted Qi Tianming, she decided to distill the conflict down to a single point. The question at hand is whether or not Brother Chen possesses the Sword Heart realm, is it not? Su Wangwan gritted her teeth and said through tears, that is correct. Li Shuya turned away, crossing her arms without uttering another word. Qi Tianming spoke calmly, then there is no issue. I have received word from the second senior brother he will arrive tomorrow. He is combative by nature. Once he learns that Brother Chen has attained the Sword Heart realm, he will surely seek a spar. At that time, everything will be brought to light. Su Wangwan's eyes were filled with tears, yet her gaze turned cold. Very well. She shot one last look at Li Shuya, suppressing her anger as she waited for the moment his lack of a sword heart would be proven. I want you to apologize to me then. Li Shuya did not reply, merely standing firm in the belief that they should let the duel take its course. She was absolutely certain that he had reached the Sword Heart realm. The feeling of oppression was far too similar to her master, whose sword heart had reached the pinnacle. Seeing that both sides had reached a silent agreement, Qi Tianming decided, then it is settled. Stop arguing, I must go inform the second senior brother. I still have spirit talismans to craft. With no time to waste, he waved his hand and departed. Li Shuya left as well, having no desire to continue the confrontation with Su Wangwan. Su Wangwan remained where she stood, sobbing in frustration. It took several attempts at consolation from Lu Hao before she finally ceased her crying. Inside the Sect Master's hall, I quickly finished drawing the spirit talismans that Qi Tianming required and stepped outside to gaze toward the peak of Mount Taiyang. The horizon was vast, and the clouds painted in hues of orange and red by the setting sun were truly a magnificent sight. Yet I only glanced at it for a moment before lifting my gaze to stare at the faint azure light shimmering above. The mountain-protecting formation, shaped like an inverted bowl, was far too ordinary. Now that the wedding ceremony had commenced, cultivators from all across the realm were permitted to attend. Upon witnessing a defensive formation of this caliber, anyone would undoubtedly offer a few silent criticisms, thinking to themselves that while the sect had certainly accumulated enough wealth, their protective measures failed to keep pace with their status. As I pondered this, a figure stepped out from the void ahead. Qi Tianming smiled and said, Brother Chen, are you here to welcome me? I looked toward him, still studying the mountain-protecting formation. Brother Qi, have the spirit talismans been crafted yet? They are finished, he replied, handing over a stack of spirit talismans. See if these are sufficient. I accepted them without counting, handing the chess manual directly to him instead. As Qi Tianming leafed through the pages, his breathing grew heavy and erratic. To his eyes, almost every endgame situation appeared to be a dead end. Yet, according to the moves I had inscribed, each could turn the tide of the game. He tucked the chess manual away safely and asked, Brother Chen, are you a formation master? I shook my head and stated my intent. I wish to exchange for a new mountain-protecting formation. How many spirit stones does a top-tier mountain-protecting formation in the mortal realm typically cost? Qi Tianming smiled, about 1 million spirit stones. The amount Brother Chen earned from me is enough to purchase one outright. I furrowed my brows. Is it really that expensive? Qi Tianming swayed his fan as if having suddenly recalled something. If Brother Chen is interested, I have a more economical and practical suggestion. Oh, Brother Qi, speak. I know a formation master named Lin Dao. If he comes to arrange the formation, it would cost about 500,000 spirit stones. My eyes lit up. That is excellent. Where is he? Can he finish it before the wedding? He is likely in the eastern continent studying a certain formation. I shall send him a voice transmission. He can arrive by tomorrow to set up a top-tier mountain-protecting formation. 2 days will be enough. I asked offhandedly what kind of formation they were researching in the east. Qi Tianming replied, Our Tianzun Pavilion has excavated an ancient mountain-protecting formation. Its level is likely at the peak of the immortal grade. My master attempted to retract the formation, but was unsuccessful. Once you emerge from seclusion, perhaps you will be able to do it. My expression suddenly turned peculiar. A peak immortal grade formation from antiquity? This is not ancient, this belongs to our Qingyun sect. Furthermore, a formation without an owner cannot be considered stolen. I pressed on, asking quickly, Are there any ruins nearby in the east? No ruins have been discovered near the Wujin kingdom, only the formation my master spoke of. Perhaps it was dropped by some powerhouse who descended from the heavens. Qi Tianming did not hide anything. He then asked, "Shall I notify Lin Dao to come over now?" I waved my hand. "Wait, let me think about this. Brother Qi, if you have nothing else to do, go study the Qi manual. I still have matters to attend to." Qi Tianming looked bewildered as he stepped into the void and departed. Once I had seen him off, the corners of my mouth could not help but curl upward. A peak immortal grade formation. With my current cultivation in the god realm being peerless, retracting such a formation should not be difficult. Without further thought, I went to test it myself. I mobilized my cultivation, causing the void before me to ripple. I took one step in and another step out, having arrived 10,000 miles away in the east of the continent. For me, such a distance is but a shift of a single thought. I searched for someone to scout the Wujin kingdom. After confirming the location, I entered the territory and closed my eyes, sensing the formation's energy until it was swiftly locked onto. I stepped into the void again and reappeared above a valley. Below lay a bowl-shaped purple formation covering the entire mountain range. Surrounding the formation were numerous formation masters clad in imperial robes, staring intently at the formation scripts. I concealed myself within the void, originally believing that no one could detect me. Yet I discovered a young formation master below, who looked up directly at me. I realized concealment was no longer an option, so I flashed directly in front of him. "Who are you?" the young man asked with a frown. His appearance was ordinary, yet his aura was anything but common. His cultivation was at the immortal grade. I smiled. "Are you also with the Tianzun Pavilion? How were you able to detect me?" I had set up a sensory array. "Your ability to conceal your presence is truly formidable." His tone was cautious. Lin Tao asked, "For what purpose have you come here? Are you also a formation master?" I replied, "I have come to reclaim this formation." Lin Tao was momentarily stunned, then laughed. "You certainly enjoy a good joke, Excellency. To reclaim the formation, one must first deactivate it. To force a breakthrough of this formation, one requires the strength of the peak immortal tier to locate its flaws. I have studied this formation for nearly a month, yet I have found no way to breach it." I nodded, opting instead to employ brute force to dismantle it. "Is it feasible?" "Only with the power of the peak immortal tier," Lin Tao replied. I countered him with a single sentence. "In that case, it is quite simple." Before Lin Tao could even react, I had already ascended above the formation. The group of formation masters below looked up in unison, raising their palms toward the formation. The very next moment, I clenched my fingers into a fist. A colossal handprint manifested in the sky above. A blinding light erupted, and a sense of oppression cascaded down like a tidal wave. The violet mountain protecting formation began to shudder violently. Its runes spun in a frantic frenzy, resisting, yet to no avail. As the handprint slowly pressed downward, fissures began to emerge upon the formation. The cracks spread rapidly until finally the formation collapsed, scattering into countless points of light. The process was swift, much like an eggshell shattered by a gentle tap. My expression remained calm. To me, this formation was truly of no consequence. Once it had been shattered, a glowing formation compass was revealed. I waved my hand and the compass flew into my palm, rotating and glowing like a violet lotus flower. I murmured, "It is quite beautiful, is it not?" I attempted to channel my spiritual energy into it, only to find I did not know how to activate it. Thus, I returned before Lin Dao and posed a question: "How does one activate this formation?" Lin Dao was so frightened that he began to tremble. He immediately performed a salute. This junior pays respects to the senior. His voice was no longer fluent. He realized this was absolutely not a matter of a mere tribulation. "How does one reopen a recurring layer of the formation?" Lin Tao hurriedly replied, "Senior, since you have destroyed the formation, it must be reorganized before it can be opened again. This junior is capable of assisting you in establishing the formation eye. It is highly complex. However, I am confident that within half a month I can thoroughly research it and restart the formation." I frowned, stating that half a month is too long, as the wedding is only 8 days away. "Can it be completed within 8 days?" Lin Tao gritted his teeth and replied, "I can attempt it, but I cannot offer any guarantees." I nodded and said, "Very well. You will accompany me to a certain place. The next 8 days are in your hands." Lin Tao immediately accepted the task. I brought him into the void, and with a single thought we returned directly to the Qingyun sect. With another shift, I transported him to a residence in the heart of the sect. "You shall remain here to conduct your research for the next 8 days. If you require anything, inform me," I said as we exchanged voice transmission seals. I then gave his shoulder a firm pat. Lin Dao nodded repeatedly, his mind still reeling from everything he had just witnessed. What he had seen within the void was vastly different from everything he had previously understood. It felt as though 10,000 miles had been compressed into a single inch. Only after I had departed did Lin Tao regain his composure, fixing his gaze upon the purple lotus formation core hovering before him. He took a deep breath, realizing he had to act with urgency. He was duty-bound to reactivate the formation within 8 days. At a residence within the Qingyun sect, Qi Tianming's received news from the Heavenly Venerable Pavilion, and his expression shifted drastically. "What? That formation has been broken. An existence at the pinnacle of the immortal level has appeared in the mortal realm, and Lin Tao has been taken away as well?" Qi Tianming immediately attempted to send a voice transmission to Lin Tao, but there was no response. His lips twitched in agitation, wondering if the man had been dragged off to the immortal realm. He furrowed his brows. Not long ago, he had been speaking with his master about Lin Tao, and this coincidence felt far too deliberate. The Heavenly Venerable Pavilion instructed them not to act rashly, advising them to wait for the master to emerge from seclusion, as the formation masters present were unharmed and were capable of describing the appearance of that formidable expert. The second senior brother would arrive tomorrow with a portrait. Qi Tianming muttered, "Lin Dao, you must return safely." Early the next morning, as the first light of dawn broke, the first rays of the sun cast a brilliant golden glow upon the stone steps before the main gate of the Qingyun sect, causing even the ancient bronze gates and the mystical beast carvings to appear. The mountain peaks were shrouded in thin mist, with clouds rolling in layers, endlessly gathering and dispersing. In the clearing before the mountain gate, Qi Tianming's group had arrived early, waiting in silence for their second senior brother's arrival this morning. He had sent word in advance requesting them to meet him there. The three of them, Li Shui, Lu Hao, and Su Wanggan, had already heard the rumors regarding the events at Tianzun Pavilion. Each of them was restless, anxious to see the portrait of the expert and learn what he truly looked like, especially Su Wanggan, who longed for the second senior brother to arrive so she could prove her worth. Indeed, in her heart, she believed I was nothing more than someone with less natural talent than her. How could I possibly be worthy of him, let alone worthy of Li Shui? After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, a golden light flashed across the horizon, lacking the ostentatious display that had accompanied Qi Tianming's arrival. This stream of golden light was humble. Yet as the point of light drew nearer, it became clear that it was actually a polished bald head, shining as brightly as a golden pearl in the morning sun. The newcomer descended directly before them. It was the second senior brother, Wu Dong. He wore battle robes that were neat and practical, the dark gray tones masking his physique with ease, yet his aura was so oppressive it left those around him gasping for air. Most striking of all was the golden long spear strapped to his back, ancient and razor-sharp. As the sunlight struck it, it felt as if the very air bowed in homage to the presence of the second senior brother. Qi Tianming's group cupped their hands in unison. Wu Dong lifted his head, scanned the area, and, not seeing the person he sought, went straight to the point. "Enough with these pleasantries. Where is this Chen Haiyan you spoke of? I wish to spar with him." Qi Tianming stepped closer, draping an arm around Wu Dong's shoulder and asked with feigned intimacy, "We haven't informed Brother Chen yet. Second senior brother, where is the portrait of Chen Rong? Let us see it first." Wu Dong withdrew a scroll from his spatial ring and handed it over. Li Shui's group immediately crowded around. Wu Dong waved his hand dismissively. "There is nothing worth seeing. You cannot even make out his features clearly." Qi Tianming frowned, but as he unfurled the scroll, he saw there were 5 pages in total. The first 3 pages showed only the outline of white robes. The next 2 were somewhat more detailed. One page depicted a silhouette focusing on the details of his belt, and the final page showed a view of his profile. Qi Tianming stared intently at that profile, suddenly frozen. Li Shui sent a sound transmission to him, her voice trembling. "Third senior brother, do you also find that this profile looks remarkably like Brother Chen?" Qi Tianming's reply was even more unsettled. "It is absurdly similar. I still remember how much he loved wearing that particular belt." Sun Wanwan stared at the final portrait, stunned. He had lived by her side for so long, how could she have failed to recognize him? That profile was identical, yet she immediately shook her head. Lowering her voice, she forced herself to dismiss the thought, "It is likely just this image that bears a slight resemblance. It must be a coincidence. Could he truly be an immortal-level powerhouse? That is the pinnacle of the immortal realm. It is impossible." Qi Tianming and Li Shui exchanged glances and could only agree with one another. To suggest that this peerless expert is me is truly an exaggeration. On the surface, I have only reached the first level of the Tribulation Transcendent stage. Qi Tianming turned to ask Wu Dong, second senior brother, "Did those formation masters say anything? Was there anything peculiar about that expert's cultivation base? For instance, could they only perceive the first level of the Tribulation Transcendent stage?" Wu Dong was momentarily taken aback, then looked at Qi Tianming as if he were a fool. "No one has said such a thing. Use your head and think. That is impossible." Qi Tianming let out an "oh," yet deep down his doubts remained. Yesterday he had discussed immortal-grade mountain-protecting formations with Brother Chen. They had also spoken of Lin Tao, and the belt he wore yesterday did indeed match perfectly. Wu Dong impatiently cut him off. "Stop dwelling on these matters. The master has ordered us not to act rashly, nor to seek out that individual. We must wait for the master to come out of seclusion. Now hurry and summon that Chen Haiyan who has reached the Sword Heart realm, or lead me to see him." Snuanwan immediately chimed in, "Second senior brother, please follow me." Wu Dong glanced at her and smiled. "Junior sister Lu is still the most obedient. Let us go." Nuanuan led Wu Dong in flight toward the Sect Master's hall. Lu Hao followed behind, leaving only Qi Tianming and Li Shui at the scene. Qi Tianming sighed. "Let's go." Li Shui nodded, and they soon arrived before the Sect Master's hall. Inside the hall, I was focused on studying an object. Sensing someone approaching, I stored the long saber in my hand away. Just as they arrived, I stepped out from the void and stood before them. "Welcome. Welcome." I spoke with a smile. There was no need to guess. It was clearly Li Shui's doing. As the senior brothers arrived, I couldn't help but take a few extra looks at Wu Dong. He was not of an advanced age, yet he was completely bald. In all honesty, a thought flashed through my mind. The less hair one has, the stronger one's power. As expected, a single glance was all it took for me to see through him. This cultivator's base was far superior to that of Li Shui's group. More importantly, the golden spear resting behind him clearly possessed a spiritual consciousness of its own. The spear intent radiating from him had already reached the pinnacle. The pinnacle of spear intent, he was only a single step away from attaining the spear heart. Qi Tianming introduced us, Brother Chen, this is our second senior brother. I stepped forward to meet Wudong, offering the same formal gesture of greeting I had used with Qi Tianming earlier. I have long admired you, truly long admired you. Wudong stood his ground without pretense, his gaze sweeping over me from head to toe, his brows furrowing deeper with every passing second. A first-stage tribulation transcender. He had previously heard his fellow disciples speaking of this place, saying the Sect Master was a powerhouse of the Sword Heart realm, but they had never mentioned he was merely at the first stage of the tribulation. Recalling Qi Tianming's earlier question regarding the first stage, realization immediately dawned upon Wudong. Are you people doubting if this is the man? Even more unsettling was the fact that his side profile bore a striking resemblance. Wudong remained silent for a moment before steering the conversation back to the matter at hand. I shall follow my fellow disciples and address you as Brother Chen. I am a man of straightforward nature. I take great pleasure in sparring with those of immense talent. May I ask if Brother Chen has truly reached the Sword Heart realm? I nodded in affirmation. Wudong's eyes ignited with a brilliant intensity. That is excellent. Brother, would you be willing to exchange pointers with me? I am prepared to suppress my cultivation base down to the first stage of the tribulation. My expression turned somewhat peculiar. You wish to suppress your cultivation for my sake? That may not be a wise idea. I am still in the midst of refining my control. Should I have a momentary lapse and fail to restrain my strength, it could lead to grave consequences. I pondered for a moment and decided to decline. Let us leave it at that. Wudong's brows instantly knit together in frustration. Su Wanwan looked immediately smug, her gaze darting toward Li Shuya as if to say, do you see? He does not even dare to accept the challenge. Li Shuya suppressed her anger. She felt that this junior sister Su Wanwan was severely lacking in discipline, yet Wudong refused to yield, insisting on nothing more than a brief sparring match. Qi Tianming hurriedly stepped forward to mediate, draping an arm over my shoulder as he said, Senior brother, this is my senior brother. He has always been like this. It truly troubles me as well. Brother Chen, look, is there any way you could spar with him for a while? I pondered for a moment, then raised my eyes. Is there anything to be gained from this? The corner of Qi Tianming's mouth twitched. What is it that you want? I did not beat around the bush. Provide something of value, and I shall entertain you. Wudong appeared quite incensed. You asked for payment just for a sparring match? Qi Tianming had no choice but to bite the bullet and ask Wudong, Brother, do you have any item of significant value on you? Wudong thought for a moment before replying, I possess an immortal grade spirit vein, but this is an item my master entrusted to me for the founding of a sect. Upon hearing the words immortal grade spirit vein, my eyes lit up immediately. If this were combined with a peak immortal grade mountain protecting formation, the status of the sect would soar instantly. I cleared my throat, put on a professional smile, and said, Very well. If you hand the immortal grade spirit vein over to me, I will agree to your spar. What do you think? The scene fell deathly silent. The value of such a spirit vein is beyond measure. Yet Wudong did not hesitate, agreeing instantly. Fine, but you must fight me for 3 days and 3 nights. I gloated inwardly. What were 3 days and 3 nights to me? Even 5 days and 5 nights would be acceptable. I slapped my hand against his, exclaiming, A gentleman's word is worth its weight in gold. Once spoken, it cannot be retracted. Qi Tianming grew frantic. Second senior brother, are you not afraid of the master's punishment? Su Wanwan also stepped forward to challenge me. Chen An, what kind of attitude is this? Guests have arrived, and this is my second senior brother. Can you not spare me some face and simply spar with him? Li Shui's gaze turned icy as she stared at Su Wanwan as if suppressing her fury. Do you think you are worthy of speaking about face? I glanced at Su Wanwan once, ignoring her as if she did not exist. Wudong raised a hand to stop Qi Tianming, junior brother, say no more. Once I have given my word, I shall see it through. He handed over an exquisite box saying, Brother Chen, this is for you. I accepted it. I opened it to find a piece of white jade in the shape of a dragon, resting as if in deep slumber. I could have sworn its eyes flickered. The immortal grade spirit vein was, in fact, a living entity. Wudong could wait no longer. Can we begin now? Is there anything that requires preparation? I stowed the box away and nodded. No preparation is needed. Let us simply relocate to a place of solitude. Upon hearing this, Wudong seized me and stepped directly into the void. Traversing space to travel afar, Qi Tianming and his group rushed in pursuit, but they stood no chance of catching up. They could only watch in despair as we vanished from sight. Qi Tianming attempted to contact Wudong via a sound transmission artifact but received no response, leaving Su Wanwan in a state of growing anxiety. Third senior brother, have you failed to locate the second senior brother? Qi Tianming could only shake his head. It cannot be helped. Whenever the second senior brother becomes serious, he forgets everything else. We can only wait for their return. Only then did Su Wanwan feel slightly at ease, though she continued to glare at Li Shuya as if coercing her. This time, you must watch with extreme care. Simultaneously, I had been brought by Wudong to a location thousands of miles away. Surrounded by wild mountains and deep forest, the area was devoid of human presence, dominated by a precipitous, craggy peak. We remained suspended in the mid-air. Wudong inquired, How is this place? I nodded, This will suffice. Wudong immediately stated, I shall suppress my cultivation to the first level of the Tribulation Transcendence stage. As he finished speaking, his aura instantly plummeted to the first level of Tribulation Transcendence. I sighed inwardly, very well, then I must hold back slightly. His golden spear leaped forth on its own, landing in his grasp. He gripped it with a casual ease as if holding the entire firmament in his hand. I beckoned to come, initiate your attack. Wu Dong stood on no ceremony. Observe this. The tip of the spear trembled and a thunderous sound of tearing air erupted. As the thrust arrived, it was as sharp as if it intended to rend the very fabric of space. I stood motionless, barely shifting my stance. My sword heart radiated outward, and in an instant the surroundings fell into a profound silence. His offensive was as if scattered by a gust of wind, disappearing entirely. Wu Dong was stunned, and then his eyes gleamed with even greater intensity. Truly the sword heart, and at the pinnacle state no less. He drew a deep breath and issued a solemn warning. Brother Chen, take care. I shall now exert my full strength. I nodded, drawing a simple sword of my own. Wu Dong's spear intent surged once more, far more ferocious than before, coalescing into an invisible vortex that swirled around his body. He shook heavens as a sky-filling cascade of spear shadows manifested. They densely blanketed the horizon before converging into a singular point, rushing forward like a gargantuan dragon, causing space itself to shudder. I gazed upon this scene with a flicker of surprise. This technique is quite interesting. I smiled and flicked my wrist. With no grand display, my aura felt like a passing spring breeze, and the images of the spear dissipated instantly. I took a single step and appeared before Wu Dong, then reached out and seized the golden sentient long spear. It was torn directly from his grasp and fell into my palm. I tossed it lightly in my hand. It possessed a decent weight. Wu Dong's expression shifted as this was the first time his spear had been seized by another. The spear vibrated violently, humming with the intent to break free, but I tightened my grip and it fell silent at once. I looked at Wu Dong. Your previous technique was powerful, but it suffered from a minor flaw. Out of respect for the spirit vein you provided, I shall demonstrate the technique for you once. After speaking, I turned toward the empty void, and my aura shifted entirely. This was not the heart of a swordsman, but the heart of a spearman. Wu Dong was frozen in place. I spoke in a low, sharp tone. Heavens. As my spear intent stirred, a gargantuan golden figure manifested in the void, thrusting forth with a spear. The images of the spear obscured the sky and covered the earth. The heavens roared, and the world seemed to be submerged in gold. I watched that strike, and momentarily I changed my mind. I withdrew my intent, and the sky-covering spear images vanished in an instant, as if they had never existed. I turned around and calmly asked him if he had learned anything. Wu Dong could no longer maintain his composure, whispering in shock. Words cannot describe it. He swallowed hard, nodded, and replied, I have learned. I smiled. Do you still wish to continue our spar? Wu Dong immediately cupped his hands, speaking with great haste. No further need. I have gained enlightenment and must enter seclusion. Thank you, Brother Chen. Without you, I would never have achieved this realization. I gave a slight nod. Let us return. My sect has many tranquil locations. I will find a place for your seclusion. Not long after, we returned to the Qingyun sect. I arranged a place for Wu Dong's seclusion, then turned away. Before leaving, Wu Dong repeatedly cupped his hands in gratitude. Qi Tianming's group watched in astonishment, especially Su Wanwan, whose entire demeanor turned uneasy as a sense of foreboding clouded her face. Once in the quiet of their residence, Qi Tianming finally asked, Second senior brother, has Brother Chen truly attained the Sword Heart realm? Su Wanwan's eyes widened, waiting intently for the answer. Fighting to suppress his rapid breathing, Wu Dong replied, I do not have time for details. I must enter closed-door cultivation immediately, which will likely take many days. As for what you have asked, you have all vastly underestimated Brother Chen. Not only does he possess the Sword Heart realm, but he has also attained the Spear Heart realm. Before he could finish his sentence, he seemed to realize something, and his expression shifted abruptly. I cannot speak of this any further. Leave at once. I must begin my seclusion. Do not disturb me. Intent on breaking through to the Spear Heart realm, he ushered Qi Tianming's group out and slammed the door shut to begin his meditation. Inside the room, an explosive aura of intent surged, locking the surrounding space so thoroughly that no outsider could possibly enter. The group outside exchanged bewildered glances and had no choice but to depart in haste. They did not disperse, but instead gathered at a different residence to sit and deliberate. The first words out of Su Wanwan's mouth were, Second senior brother said Chen Anbang possesses both the Sword Heart and the Spear Heart. I do not believe it. The more she pondered it, the more absurd it seemed. To simultaneously master both the Sword Heart and the Spear Heart, she had never heard of such a thing. She had never heard of such a feat in her life. Li Shuya frowned, remaining silent. She believed that Chen Anbang possessed the Sword Heart realm, but the claim that he simultaneously mastered the Spear Heart realm was something she clearly found hard to accept. However, there was one thing she was certain of. He indeed possessed the Sword Heart. Seeing that Li Shuya did not refute her, Su Wanwan's tone grew even colder. This Chen Anbang must have used some kind of deceptive trickery. As for second senior brother, I have finally seen his true colors. His ability to bewitch others is truly terrifying. I can see that all of you, my senior brothers and sisters, have already been ensnared by him. Wait. Qi Tianming knitted his brows tightly, his gaze sweeping across the faces of Li Shuya and the others. His voice trembled, yet his conviction was absolute. If the expert who retrieved that peak-tier immortal-grade mountain-protecting formation was indeed our Brother Chen, then would it not be perfectly reasonable for Brother Chen to possess both the Sword Heart and the Spear Heart? He spoke with little confidence, yet second senior brother's reaction upon returning only served to push them further toward this hypothesis. Furthermore, they had only gone out for a single sparring match. Yet second senior brother was now on the verge of a breakthrough into the spear heart realm. Their master had once stated that for second senior brother to condense a spear heart, it would require an immense stroke of destiny. Only by entering the mortal world would there be any possibility of achieving it. But if the person who guided the second senior brother is a grand master whose strength surpasses even our masters, would that not be an immense stroke of fortune? Upon hearing this, Suanwan's expression darkened, her tone becoming resolute and unwavering. That is impossible. Do I not know exactly what kind of person Chen An is? If he were truly that powerful, why would he have treated me the way he did in the past, and why would he have sought to apprentice under my father? None of this makes any sense. Qi Tianming watched Su Wanwan, whose emotions seemed on the verge of erupting and his brows furrowed even deeper. He looked at Su Wanwan, realizing she knew nothing of the true me. After 2 days of interacting with me, what he had witnessed was entirely contrary to the rumors circulating outside. I did not seem like a desperate romantic, nor did I resemble the deceitful scoundrel Su Wanwan described. Instead, I appeared all the more enigmatic. He became increasingly convinced that his deductions were 80 to 90% accurate. More importantly, he sensed that the second senior brother seemed to have something left unsaid before he departed. Junior sister, say no more. Qi Tianming took a deep breath, forcing his curiosity to subside. Second senior brother has just emerged from seclusion. He surely knows something. Su Wanwan retorted immediately. No, I must go and ask him directly. I intend to confront him face to face. She felt that her senior brothers and sisters were becoming increasingly irrational. She had known me since we were children. What kind of talent did I possess? Was she not the one who knew best? Even at the height of my obsession with her, she had never seen me display any startling ability. She remembered it clearly. I was visibly only at the first stage of the Tribulation Transcendence realm, yet she had left the sect for less than a month. Upon her return, I had transformed into an unfathomably powerful expert. In her eyes, this was entirely illogical, which was why she insisted on a confrontation. I am going right now. Suanwan spoke with an agitated expression and was about to set off when Qi Tianming stopped her. Junior sister, we must not be rash. Qi Tianming stared at her, his voice low and solemn. Have you forgotten the master's instructions? Master commanded us not to alert the enemy by investigating that expert. We shall wait for the master to emerge from seclusion before taking any further action. The corners of Goan's mouth twitched, but she suppressed her anger and replied. Third senior brother, do you truly believe he is that hidden master? I know him well. It is absolutely impossible. Qi Tianming became more convinced the more he thought about it. All signs pointed directly toward him. Although there is no concrete evidence, I am currently the prime suspect. Junior sister, are you refusing to listen to both master and your senior brothers? Qi Tianming's voice grew heavier, his expression revealing a hint of reprimand. Goan stood rooted to the spot, frozen for a moment. She finally managed to suppress her frustration and nodded silently, though her fists remained tightly clenched. She truly could not fathom what was going through the minds of these senior brothers and sisters. Initially, they claimed I possessed a sword heart, which was enough. Now they even insist a spear heart has emerged, and have gone so far as to label me an immortal-level pinnacle expert. An immortal-level pinnacle expert is among the absolute elite even in the immortal realm. How could I possibly possess such capability? Qi Tianming stated clearly that this matter must wait until the second senior brother emerges from seclusion before being discussed further. Only when the master emerges from seclusion can we inquire about this in a formal and upright manner. Brother Chen and the others are far too weak to pursue an immortal-level pinnacle expert. At best, one would invite disaster upon themselves, and at worst, lose their life. Li Shui and Lu Hao nodded in agreement, the eyes of all three fixed upon Su Guanguan. Su Guanguan hesitated for a long time, before finally gritting her teeth and nodding. Very well, for the time being, none of us shall seek out Brother Chen. Even if a meeting becomes unavoidable, we must absolutely refrain from probing his true strength. Qi Tianming gave the solemn instruction, and everyone obeyed. At that moment, the transmission treasure in Qi Tianming's possession suddenly vibrated. He glanced down, his eyes lighting up with brilliance. After putting the item away, he smiled and said, "The eldest senior brother has arrived." They had originally assumed that this bookworm of an eldest senior brother would remain buried in the library, only appearing on the final day. After all, the eldest senior brother treated the library as his home, spending his years in seclusion reading and residing within its walls. It was precisely because of his vast reading that his comprehension was absurdly high. The group immediately flew outside the sect. Before long, an old man in white robes stepped out from the void, his hair cascading down like strands of silver. His loose white robes billowed gently in the wind. His entire presence radiated an indescribable intellectual aura, while his eyes held a glimmer of compassion and profound wisdom. "Greetings, eldest senior brother," the group said in unison, performing a formal salute. Yi Zhongheng nodded with a smile. Li Shui replied, "The second senior brother is currently in secluded meditation." Hearing that he was attempting a breakthrough to the Tungtum realm, Yi Zhongheng was stunned. "What? Surely you must be mistaken. The Tungtum realm is not so easily broken through." Qi Tianming stepped forward and quickly recounted everything he had seen and heard over the past few days. Upon hearing this, Yi Zhongheng's expression shifted, his voice dropped to a whisper, and he instinctively sealed the surrounding space. "What? That supreme immortal tier expert is actually the Sect Master of this sect?" Qi Tianming spoke cautiously. The timing and certain details do align, but it is still far from confirmed. Let us wait for the second senior brother to emerge from seclusion before discussing this further. Ultimately, we must await the arrival of the master to verify the truth. Yi Zhongheng pondered for a moment before nodding. Indeed, we must not act recklessly, but I must certainly meet him once. I intend to put his character to the test. Qi Tianming offered a bitter smile. Would such a test not be too blatant? Yi Zhongheng replied with total confidence. Not at all. If he is truly a peak immortal tier expert, having lived for so long, his knowledge must be incredibly profound. I shall engage him in a scholarly discussion, from which I can roughly determine if he is truly only 40 years of age. Qi Tianming considered this and, finding it feasible, nodded in agreement. Suan's eyes suddenly lit up and she sneered inwardly. What sort of scholarly knowledge could he possibly possess? Just wait and see as the first senior brother exposes his shallow facade. The group reached a consensus and headed straight for the Sect Master's palace. At that moment, inside the palace, I was flipping through manuals on how to utilize spirit veins, finding myself so inept that I had to visit the library to study the basics. As it turned out, the books only covered mortal-grade spirit veins and made no mention of immortal-grade ones. What was even more absurd was that mortal spirit veins could not simply be buried and forgotten. They required cultivation, much like watering a plant, waiting for the roots to spread across the entire mountain range, until they finally blossomed and radiated dense spiritual energy like ripening fruit. Normally, this process takes several months. I furrowed my brow. At this rate, it would certainly not reach the desired effect before the wedding. While lost in thought, I sensed that someone had come to visit the sect. So the senior brother has finally arrived? I casually gathered the books and exited the main hall in a single motion. The man clad in whites with white hair appeared to be of considerable age. I mused to myself, could this truly be their master? I maintained my usual smile. I strode forward to welcome him. Welcome, a warm welcome to you. Qi Tianming smiled and introduced, Brother Chen, this is our senior brother. Senior brother? I had assumed he was the master. At this age, he must be at least 200 years old. Yi Zhongheng cupped his hands in a salute, his smile gentle. I am Yi Zhongheng. Greetings, Brother Chen. I have long admired your reputation. Please, step inside. I hurriedly led them into the hall. Once Yi Zhongheng had taken his seat, his gaze rested upon the stack of books beside my high chair. His expression shifted slightly. Qi Tianming and the others also noticed the books, though they could not discern the titles. The corner of Su Wanwan's mouth twitched, as if she were suppressing a remark. Are you deliberately displaying those just to appear profound? Yi Zhongheng asked with a smile. Does Brother Chen also enjoy reading? I glanced at the pile of books and answered casually, my tastes are quite eclectic. I glanced through them from time to time. What about you, Brother Yi? Yi Zhongheng replied with a smile. I have read extensively since I was young. At my age, I have likely perused every text in the mortal realm at least once. I was slightly taken aback. Is this not a living library? Yi Zhongheng's smile deepened. If Brother Chen does not believe me, feel free to question me. With nothing left to test him with, my expression turned enigmatic. Naturally, I believed him. Yi Zhongheng's expression also flickered, as if he had not expected me to deviate from the customary script. Recalling the matter of the spirit vein from earlier, I spoke up directly. However, I do indeed have a question. I have obtained a celestial-grade spirit vein from the Wudong brothers. Is there any method to accelerate its growth? Yi Zhongheng's expression visibly fluctuated. Su Guangguan listened to this, a look of undisguised contempt manifesting on her face, and she cast a quick glance at Li Shuya and Qi Tianming as if to say, see, even a basic matter such as this he does not know. Li Shuya and Qi Tianming furrowed their brows, as this was clearly outside their expectations. Yet Yi Zhongheng continued to explain with a smile, a celestial-grade spirit vein is distinct from a mortal one. It requires only to be buried in the earth with no need for watering or care, requiring only patience for a period of time to reach maturity. It takes about a month. If one desires a faster result, spirit stones can be used as fertilizer. The more you use, the faster it develops. I immediately grasped the concept. So that is how it is, my gratitude for guiding me out of my ignorance. This is excellent. The sect's spiritual energy can finally increase before the wedding ceremony. Yi Zhongheng smiled, his demeanor suggesting this was common knowledge in the celestial realm. Brother Chen, do you have any other questions? I waved my hand, that is all. Brother Yi has done me a great service, but the more I pondered it, the more I felt something was amiss. Why did it seem as though he were eager for me to ask more questions? To allow him to flaunt his knowledge, I seized the opportunity to strike back. The other questions I have, I fear Brother Yi might not be able to answer. Yi Zhongheng was momentarily stunned, then spoke with nonchalant grace. Brother Ren, I shall not conceal this from you. If there is a question that I cannot fathom, then there are very few people in this mortal realm, or even the celestial realm, who could provide an answer. I observed his expression and said with a laugh, then let us make a wager. I shall ask you a few questions, and I am certain you will not be able to answer them. The corners of Qi Tianming's mouth twitched, while Di Shuya appeared indescribably embarrassed. I was targeting their sect members to pluck them bare. I directly set the stakes, adding a small prize to make it interesting. Does Brother Dao possess any powerful cultivation manuals? I weighed the options carefully. What my sect currently lacks most are potent cultivation techniques. I do not require them for myself, but our elders and disciples are in desperate need. Yi Zhongheng replied with a teasing tone. And what kind of cultivation manual would that be? I went straight to the point. The strongest technique in my sect is currently only at the low-grade heaven rank. Does Brother Dao possess a high-grade heaven rank, or perhaps even a celestial-grade cultivation manual? Yi Zhongheng laughed heartily, his tone filled with pride. Since I was 100 years old, I have been creating my own cultivation techniques. Not long ago, I did indeed finalize a high-grade celestial cultivation manual. However, I believe classifying it as a divine-grade technique is no exaggeration, because regardless of one's cultivation level, even the weakest chi refiner could rapidly reach the peak of the tribulation transcendence stage. My eyes gleamed with intensity. How about we use that technique as the wager? Dizhong curled his lips into a smirk. Very well, but if I am able to answer, what do you intend to give me, Brother Chen? I smiled, certain that he would be unable to provide an answer. Dizhongking's interest was clearly piqued by my challenge. Fine, ask your question. I flashed my signature disingenuous smile. The first question, in this world, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Di Zhongheng remained calm at first, but the more he pondered, the deeper his brows furrowed, until he was eventually left completely bewildered. Without a chicken, how could there be an egg? Without an egg, how could there be a chicken? Qi Tianming and the others began to contemplate the problem as well, and soon all of them were staring blankly. What kind of question is this? I gazed at him. Brother Dai, have you found your answer yet? Di Zhongheng stammered. This matter. I chuckled. Are you unable to answer? Di Zhongheng drew a deep breath and nodded honestly. For the time being, I cannot answer. I require careful study. I did not wait for him to recover his senses. I continued with the second question. I set sail on a wooden boat for 100 years to reach my destination. Halfway through, the hull rotted, so I replaced the planks with new materials. By the time every single piece of material on the boat has been replaced, is it still the original boat? Di Zhongheng thought for a moment. When he did not reply, I pressed him immediately. Is it not? Then at what exact point did it transform into a different boat? I clearly never stepped off the vessel, yet it has already become an entirely different entity. Di Zhongheng was left speechless. His expression grew visibly strained. For no matter how one attempts to answer this question, it is inherently flawed. Finally, he smiled bitterly. I must study this problem further as well. I continued to press him with a barrage of 10 questions, all of which were traps based on the paradoxes and philosophical logic from my previous life. Yi Zhongheng's initial confidence vanished, leaving him utterly dazed, with beads of sweat beginning to gather on his forehead. I paused. Very well, Brother Yi. It seems there is still much that you have yet to grasp, is that not so? The muscles in Zhongheng's face twitched. What manner of questions were these? He had never encountered them in any text before. He had no choice but to concede. Indeed, I must study these questions again. Brother Chen's insights are truly profound. Qi Tianming and the others witnessed this scene, their hearts trembling. To be able to push the senior brother to such a state, he must in all likelihood be a supreme expert of the immortal grade. I spoke indifferently. Since Brother Yi cannot answer, I suppose that makes me the victor. With a bitter smile, Yi Zhongheng produced a blue-covered manual, the Heaven and Earth Creation Technique, though he remained unwilling to give up. Brother Chen, where exactly did you acquire these questions? I have never heard of them in my entire life. I fabricated a casual excuse. It was a long time ago. I read them in a book, but that text has long since been lost to time. The surroundings fell into a sudden heavy silence. My eyes gleamed with feigned innocence. I knew it would be like this. Qi Tianming and Di Shouyai exchanged a quick glance. Could this be a case of a blind cat stumbling upon a dead mouse? Yi Zhongheng fell into deep thought before finally smiling. In that case, I concede my defeat entirely. Brother Chen, please feel free to make use of this cultivation technique. I nodded and accepted the manual. We continued to converse for a while longer. Yi Zhongheng seized the opportunity to bring up several topics, attempting to probe me further. The result was the discovery that I knew absolutely nothing about them. He became even more perplexed. A short time later, I saw them off. They flew toward a secluded dwelling. Qi Tianming was the first to speak. Senior brother, what are your thoughts? Regarding Brother Chen, Yi Zhongheng rubbed his chin. At times, his knowledge is staggering, yet at others, he lacks even the most fundamental understanding of the immortal realm. I find myself unable to see through him at all. Di Shuiai's eyes flickered slightly. This proves that Brother Chen is truly formidable. It is easy to feign ignorance, but one cannot fake profound knowledge and erudition. Su whispered softly, I do not think it is all that mysterious. He himself claimed to have read it in a book. Di Zhongheng narrowed his eyes. He is certainly not as simple as he appears. Could he be that supreme expert of the immortal level? Perhaps we must wait for Master to arrive before we can find the answer. After they departed, I immediately took the immortal grade spirit vein to the central mountain range of the sect. This is the heart of the Grand Protective Formation, the most suitable location to cultivate a spirit vein. I waved my hand and the ground erupted with a thunderous roar, forming a pit the size of a well. I descended into the abyss, venturing deeper until I stopped at a depth of over 300 meters underground. I excavated a cavern the size of a basketball court and interred the newly acquired spirit stones alongside the spirit vein in the center. This should suffice. I returned to the sky and looked down. Very quickly, the spirit vein began to absorb the spiritual energy from the spirit stones, much like a seed drawing nutrients from the soil, sprouting white tendrils that spread throughout the surrounding earth at a speed visible to the naked eye. My gaze brightened. In a few days, these sprouts would permeate the depths of the Qingyun sect. After observing the situation for a few days, I returned to the sect leader's hall. The matter of the cultivation manuals also required arrangement. I used a sound transmission talisman to contact the first elder requesting his presence. Marong Shui had just sent a message stating that the wedding preparations were mostly complete. She had begun consuming medicinal elixirs in preparation for her breakthrough. About the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the first elder Long Aotian strolled in. Upon entering the hall, he stood in the center, his eyes filled with clear dissatisfaction. Sect leader, for what reason have you summoned me? I withdrew a cultivation manual, levitating it before him with a surge of spiritual energy. This is an immortal-grade cultivation technique, suitable for all those in the mortal realm to practice, boasting a speed greater than any other technique, capable of guiding a practitioner to the peak of the tribulation transcending stage. From this day forth, this shall be our sect's primary manual, and every disciple may practice it. The first elder's eyes widened. An immortal-grade technique? He flipped through the pages. I added a final remark. I obtained this from Senior Brother Su's personal collection. There is no need to doubt its authenticity. The great elder drew in a sharp breath and nodded. He, too, realized this gift felt more like a celebratory offering. He looked up and stared intently at me, asking, techniques that accelerate cultivation require a vast amount of spiritual energy, but our sect's resources are already exhausted, are they not? He was well aware that Marong Shui had depleted the treasury for the sake of the wedding. How do you intend to provide for the disciples' future needs? I smiled. I have just cultivated a celestial spirit vein within the sect. Before long, the spiritual energy at our disposal will be inexhaustible. As for other resources, there is no need for concern. The sect will continue to distribute them as per usual. The great elder gasped in disbelief, acknowledging that most celestial spirit veins were granted by powers from beyond. Yet regardless of the source, I had indeed accomplished 2 tasks, and as these deeds benefited the sect, his attitude toward me softened visibly. That, at the very least, was a positive outcome. I seized the opportunity to say, I know the elders were displeased with my past actions, but I was caught in circumstances beyond my control. I promised Master that I would look after junior sister, but things are well now. She is married into a respectable family, and I shall make amends in the future. The great elder frowned, as if he had finally reached a difficult decision. Sect Master, it is only you and I here. Before you confess the truth to me, did the former Sect Master truly give you such instructions? I looked him in the eye and said solemnly, he did indeed give me those instructions. The great elder nodded in silence. I shall go and attend to my duties. I watched him depart and shook my head slightly. Must I rely on that final act to truly win him over? Now, I only wait for the wedding, though my sleep has been strange lately. I find myself dreaming, and I keep seeing the exact same scene. I walked before an ancient bronze mirror, but the reflection staring back was not my own. It was a handsome man dressed in white robes. I chuckled at myself, wondering if my subconscious truly desired to look more elegant. After the great elder left, he summoned the elders to discuss the distribution of the cultivation techniques. They produced hundreds of copies, cataloging them into the library pavilion according to their respective realms, and strictly forbidding anyone from removing them without authorization. As news of this spread, disciples flocked to the pavilion in droves. Their cultivation speed subsequently increased tenfold, causing a sensation throughout the sect, yet the disciples soon began to grow anxious. To advance quickly, they required even more spiritual energy. The sect's monthly supply of spirit stones was limited, and with the wedding having depleted the remaining resources, what would the future hold? The day of the wedding drew ever closer, reaching the heart of the mortal realm. Within a grand city, inside a stone pavilion by the lake at the rear of a majestic estate, 2 elderly men were partaking in tea. Elder Chi stroked his beard and asked with a smile, the pavilion master's disciple is about to be wed. When shall we depart? That boy, Chi Tianming, was clamoring to leave yesterday. He is clearly intent on winning all the spirit stones from my beard this time. Elder Qin, carrying a zither upon his back, walked gracefully toward the cliff's edge. He also told me not to be late, but I intend to depart on the very day of the ceremony. Leaving any earlier would be quite tedious. Elder Qi sighed in admiration at how heaven-defying the fortune of the Qingyun sect was, producing a sacred body and having it accepted as a disciple by the pavilion master. Elder Jing shook his head and laughed. The last time we heard of the Qingyun sect, it was merely a laughingstock. Elder Qi chuckled again. I hear their sect master, Chen Haiyan, is deeply infatuated with the pavilion master's 6th disciple. Now that the 6th disciple is marrying the 5th, he is well on his way to becoming the joke of the entire world. Elder Xing spoke with hidden meaning. Have you not heard? He is doing this only to honor the dying wish of his master. Elder Qi looked at him with a strange expression, realizing the other was being cynical. Regardless, this wedding was certain to be a lively affair. Elder Qi then asked with a solemn expression about the portrait of that formidable expert. It has been acquired. Elder Jing nodded. It only shows a profile, yet this person is slightly stronger than our current pavilion master. It is highly probable they hail from the immortal realm. Xia Fan deactivated the mountain protecting formation. Elder Qi expressed regret at not being able to witness such imposing grace. Elder Ling looked forward to the future. Once the pavilion master emerges from seclusion, he will surely be at the peak of the immortal level. Before long, we too shall follow him as we depart this mortal realm. Once we reach the immortal realm, will we finally be able to gaze upon the stars? The invitations were rapidly disseminated across the cultivation world. Only one day remained before the wedding. I stood high in the air above the sect, observing the elders and disciples methodically arranging the tables and chairs in the plaza, and nodded in satisfaction. They were exceptionally obedient today, and the reason was simple. Yesterday, the spirit vein had fully matured, and dense spiritual energy surged from deep within the earth, enveloping the entire sect like a thick mist. The disciples were frantically absorbing the energy, their cultivation advancing at a rate visible to the naked eye. They knew it was I who had nurtured the immortal-grade spirit vein beneath the soil, and their reverence for me had grown even deeper. I glanced toward the place of seclusion. Xiao Shu was still in retreat, and it appeared she would not be able to achieve her breakthrough before the wedding. As for the remaining preparations, I shall oversee them personally. Night fell, bringing a brief silence to the sect, until the dawn of the next day stretched across the highest peak. The entire sect resonated with the clamor of gongs and drums, which I had specifically ordered to ensure a lively atmosphere. At that same moment, the invited forces began to appear one after another on the horizon. Flying airships filled the sky, arriving from all four corners of the realm, a truly magnificent sight. The corners of my mouth curled upward as I glided toward a quiet residence. Had the formation not been restarted yet, I observed Lin Tao, who was busy wiping beads of sweat from his brow. Lin Tao offered a bitter smile. It will be finished soon. It should be ready within the day. I furrowed my brow. Exert yourself a little more. I glided away once more, appearing at another residence. Qi Tianming and the others were gathered there, practicing their movements. He had emerged from seclusion, having broken through to the realm of the spear heart. His entire body moved with the precision and sharpness of a honed spear. Seeing me, he smiled. Brother Chen, I have already made arrangements for those two. After donning their wedding attire, they prepared to receive the guests. I had no intention of letting these people remain idle. Having experts of the immortal level standing at the sect gates to welcome guests, this wedding standards were truly top tier. Li Shuya pointed toward a room, saying, "Junior sister refuses to come out to receive the guests." I frowned and walked straight inside. Upon entering the room, I saw Lu Hao dressed in bright red wedding robes, sitting by the bed, looking helplessly at the person lying upon it. I am obediently lying still. Hearing me enter, Lu Hao raised his head to look at me, his bitter smile deepening. I stepped closer, my tone calm and composed. "My obedient one, what is it that you are doing?" She was stubborn and headstrong. "I do not like those scenes, and there is no rule stating the bride must receive the guests, so I will not go." The more she spoke, the more emboldened she became, as if she had been harboring this resentment for a long time. To be forced into marriage was already insufferable enough. To be expected to receive guests was akin to casting aside the last of her dignity. She remained defiant.